Livers.
What's
Can't
our
post comments to some destinations. It's double streaming to Rumble at the same time somehow. Rather Rumble to your destination. Is it possible the stream was ended to delete on that destination? This can also occur RNTP. That might be a Rumble one. If everybody's seen this on YouTube, I guess I don't care if it's really working in Rumble or not. Yeah, it is.
Maven's goal was not to come off as a crazy woman. Can't wait to see if she met that goal. Rista wants us to be nice.
I removed the Rumble. The Rumble didn't work. It gave me a notice that it wasn't working. So never mind about that.
Unrumbled.
Tried to Rumble because last week, I don't know if it's still done or not, but John Oliver blocked us, and it'll probably be contested for copyright, but it might take up to 30 days, and we did so much time on it. It's probably going to take forever. I don't know if it's unblocked or not. People can get a copy on the StreamYard if they want to. I can send it to them. We have the the link over in the Longhouse on Facebook, where also we found out if that Longhouse can get up to 60 members, I can stream live on Facebook. Whoa. I cannot stream live on Facebook until we have 60 members. I know we don't have very much subscribers. Word on the street is somebody was making fun that we don't have as much as 5% of Alyssa Grenfell's survivors like they do. And so
I really wish that people would stop making that joke, because it's something we're very sensitive about.
Yeah. It very much upsets me.
It really hurts my feelings.
We feel silenced. I mean, does Alyssa Grenfell even think we're human?
I feel unheard.
Well, I'm talking about 5% of Alyssa Grenfell. No, Alyssa Grenfell doesn't know we exist, but the people who were making fun of us have 5% of Alyssa Grenfell's subscribers.
Oh,
I would say.
And we have 5% of their subscribers. So.
Yeah. So we're down on the chain, but you know what? It's a patriarchy, and that's how patriarchies work. Yeah. Young girls who come out of nowhere get hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Guys
get an entire career
50 entire careers out of this, get like 20,000 subscribers if they stick to a certain ideological point. And then us who we're like the lukewarm water that gets spit out because we're too, I don't know if you call it like in the middle. We're lukewarm. We're what Jesus spits out. Yeah. And that's why we only have 300 subscribers.
Well, no, we don't. I guess you could call it lukewarm. But I think the best example of why nobody gives a shit is the time that Marty interviewed Dives. No, I didn't interview him. Like when she did his show, and he wanted her to comment on the temple thing, like the steeple height.
Said about the steeple for me.
What do you think about the steeple height there, Marty? I think maybe the core of the 15 should be cut down a foot or two. She's like, I think everyone's being stupid. I think they could have a shorter steeples, and it's not a big deal. But also, I think the town shouldn't care.
You can't have lukewarm takes like that.
He was very frustrated with that take.
Even though they're hot takes. Well, I think that's the kind of reason why Jonathan Streeter noped out of him. He was like really confused on why Jonathan noped out, but he noticed that he kept wanting to have like a, what do you think the Mormons are screwing up with this? And
it was a familicide or whatever it was that he's like, oh, look at all these people killing their families that are Mormon. And Jonathan's like, yeah, I don't know much about that. I can't really say if there's like a link or not.
But I hate the Mormons for making that happen.
Wow, Jonathan Streeter was always one of my heroes. This was very difficult that he's not taking MySpace seriously.
Yeah. But I once again, I have narrowed down on what Diviz's and his guest commentary are, and it's normally this. That is very concerning. That's one of 3 takes. The other 2 are similar synonyms. Anyway, Troy reserves space for porch time. What do we complain about? We got Risto, we got Vernon, we got Troy, we got everybody who's cool. Even though they all watch all these guys too. Starbase collab, yeah. Maven's goal is not to come off as crazy. Can't wait to see if she met that goal.
I'm not gonna spoil it for you. I'm not gonna say.
Don't give it away.
I won't give it away. I won't give it away.
You have to listen to all 4.5 hours of our stream tonight.
No way, man. I edited this thing down in the script, and we're gonna have to watch it in the script because it was like it said it was gonna take 72 hours to download, and I said no to that, and it was taking so long, and I was looking at it, but I edited it down to 3 hours just by removing all the pregnant pauses, and now. I think, and that's
there was some time I was watching it on double speed, and there was a couple times I just thought that my internet went out, but she just passed. She just like paused for like 20 seconds.
Yeah, there was a lot of them, and you want to know what? I even like kind of felt like I really am kind of removing some of the editorial ideas here by removing those pregnant pauses because those are performative. They are 100% performative, but oh well, I don't have time for that performance. But we're not going to listen to every single thing because obviously, like, you know, we usually do like 3-4 hours of commentary on 20 minutes of video, and this is 3 hours of video. I don't know if you guys went through the thing, so we have to pick and choose which ones we'd actually listen to. But I made an outline with my kind of crappy writing on it. I don't know if you guys pulled it. There's a Word document in there.
Yeah, I looked a little bit.
Then you can maybe see parts you want to jump to or not. Otherwise, I can just breeze through, and if there's a part that you say, hey, let's listen to her say that one. We can say that one if we want to. But I don't know. Do we want to jump into it already? Oh, Reese got timed out of the comments. Well, I've got here in the in our pictures like a bunch of the. Look at this. I like this. Sorry, you're a peasant or whatever. We've got a bunch of like our comment stuff down here that we did and kind of shared around. But most of it was one of the only reasons we shared it around is because whatever I post in there is shadow banned. We did have a thing in there where, you know, Flip says to right here, we had some conversation. We might go look at the Facebook post afterwards, but Flip got some interaction with Bill Real saying that you should unblock all the people Maven blocked. She didn't moderate your comment section. She censored it. I don't know if I was shadow banned. I don't think I was shadow banned over on Mormonism Live, but I for sure was over on Mormon Stories, which she also moderates. And so I can't ever comment there. I always think of stuff like just today they had Brittany on, and the very first thing she started talking about is like, as soon as you leave church, don't go getting into polyamory marriages. You know, stuff we've been talking about for 3-4 years, but we're men, so our voices get elevated to the top of everything we ever say just because. And that's why all the whole ex-Mormon community heard it. But the there's Brittany saying it, so now it matters. Oh wait, no, it doesn't matter because it's a female. Wait a minute, no, she's saying the same thing we've been saying for 4 or 5 years, and it's like new outrageous mind-bending stuff. But she had the smarter caveat that we didn't answer: that do not open your marriage unless you consult a Natasha Helfer first. That's how you open your marriage.
Yeah, that's the only way to do it. You want to know a funny thing that I do because feminists are annoying? Is in that comment that you had pulled up of mine, it was I like doing this thing where feminists get really mad if you use the word female as like a noun instead of an adjective.
Oh yeah,
like they act like it's dehumanizing.
Uh-huh.
And so now I always just use the word. I only ever use the word female if I'm also using the word male, because I would love for them to tell me that I'm being sexist. And I also sometimes I will use the word woman and then I'll use the word male. Just I don't know. I feel like it probably short circuits them a little bit.
Starbase Co-op is shadow banned on Mormon Stories. That's where I'm shadow banned. You guys were shadow banned on Mormon Discussions. I know Reese still was. It's hard to tell because like that's why we made the Maven moderator thing. Actually, this was going to be the cover. This is the thing I was going to try to make it just a nicer cover because I have to screaming, but I don't know. That's so much nicer. The church lady, I guess Bill's blocking the wrench right there. But we've been complaining that she's had that HR power, that power to gatekeep most of the big ex-Mormon spaces for a few years, even though she's just some poor little girl who just has to sit around and she doesn't matter and doesn't have any power until any of the big guys give her some sort of power or something like that. She's a gal who barely did some college and popped up and took over the entire gatekeeping of all the ex-Mormon spaces for all of us, but she has no power. Let's see.
She's literally silenced.
She's literally silenced.
And why? And why? Why was she silenced? Can you think of a possible reason she was silenced? There's only one. It's because she's a woman.
We'll have to listen to these 4.5 hours to figure out. The title of the stream is kind of a poke at RFM, which I guess we might be doing a lot, even though ostensibly we're going to be defending tonight. But he thought it was, or just kept pulling up, I guess, a Wikipedia entry that does nothing wrong as some sort of Yahtzee reference or something like that, because people said that about Jeffrey R. Holland or something like that. So I poked at it. But I also said, welcome to the Manosphere and alt-right pipeline, fellas. And I put this right before Mormons After Dark started, and they deleted it off, didn't let it stay there. And so I got this title going on right here of this, but I'm just poking at him because you don't get into Yahtzee land in this world. I mean, there's a few Yahtzees, like actual Yahtzees out there, but you don't get into that land. You don't become Manosphere or alt-right pipeline until somebody declares you that. Usually a Maven type declares you that. And once they've declared you that, it's good enough for you guys to report on your newscast show that that is true. That's how that works. So we'd like to welcome you to that because you've been declared. You've been knighted, good sirs. Good enough to report on your show.
I can't help but laugh. I don't know why. I think it's the funniest shit ever. Every time Steve calls her Marvin. Every time he mentions her, he says, finish listening to Marvin's story.
That's really funny because I was just watching some stuff with kayfabe with some wrestlers, and what some of the heels would always do is they'd purposely mispronounce the names of their fans. And so, like, if you go like listen to podcasts of all these heels, like they just had the time of their lives coming up with a way to mispronounce the bad guy's names. Like Rey Mysterio, the bad guy, he had the good guy. The bad guy comes along and he calls him Ron Mysterio. He just says like just gives him some like whitey name or something like that. But then saying it with a straight face, which I once again still think the funniest thing to this day I've ever seen on television is when you watch The Sopranos and Tony Soprano just does all these malapropisms, but there's no wink at it. There's no like little hint that he knows that there's a malapropism or that the show knows it's a malapropism. Sometimes he's even doing it in the moment of anger or something like that, and just totally says the wrong thing entirely, but just gives it 100% genuine performance of saying the wrong thing. That's, to me, like still my favorite thing to ever see in television anywhere.
Oh, dude. I brought something up. Guess who's the guest star on Culch today?
Divas on Colt?
Yeah. Nobody tell Steve Pinecker. I'm going to tell him right now.
I was wondering how Colt was going to try to walk this high wire of being on Maven's side and the Mormonism Live Guy side, and then he just goes and pulls out a whole different high wire act right in the middle of all this. Way to go, Colt.
I talked to him a little bit, and yeah, he wants to, I don't know, he just wants to be everyone's friend. And if Maven is one of those people, if Maven's a person you want to be friends with, you cannot be friends with everyone.
Yeah.
Not because they won't let you, but because she won't let you.
Yeah, you can't associate with us or you will be canceled as well. I mean, that's the things that we learned forever. But there's always these guilt by association things going on. I'm even careful with it with some people. Like Steve Pinecker will say, like, how could I put you on or something? Like, Steve, you don't want me on. But not because, like, I mean, maybe if I had something to promote or something like that. But
let me do the favor of not going on your show.
Yeah.
You could sell our merch.
Yeah, totally. Oh, but I'm sure that Exmo Joe would go on, and then if there was like a hint of a controversy about you, he'd be there to champion the woman that you've wronged. I bet you.
Oh man, I did think it was funny. I posted something in Thoughtful Saints, and I tagged Bill Reel. I don't think he saw it. He might have. I don't know, but. And I just finished, like, I'm talking about the Maven thing. I'm kind of making fun of him for, like, the same way I make fun of John DeLynn for Jen Camp. Like, what the fuck was wrong with you for, like, dealing with this insane person for so long? But then I finished it. I was like, in the end, it's kind of ironic how you guys were Halversoned just a week after Halversoning Halverson.
Exactly. I mean, that's how we posted it over to the Thoughtful Saints guys, because nobody's really following it there than us. And even after we posted it, they kind of don't understand what's going on at all. But some people do.
I did like Dan. What's Dan's last name? Ellsworth. Yeah, Dan Ellsworth. His reply to me was, "What comes first, militant atheism or the cluster B?"
She's. I mean, I think it was really funny, and I like to point back at them and say, like, look, you guys get what you served up. Do you even notice it? Do you even like take a second and think about it ever? I already know from John DeLynne's End of the World that he doesn't, but maybe she only has like so much power to cancel him. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Maybe it will drop their fan base a little bit. But if it ever really did happen to them, I bet you they would be licking those wounds pretty hard. But it is pretty hilarious that it happens to him. But at the same time, too, yeah, it's worth looking at. It's the thing we've been pointing at this whole entire time. She says that, throughout this entire thing, as we'll point out, she's crying that she never gets to make her point to be understood. And like, maybe like, we're here from the sidelines for years saying, could we get a peep? And you've been on the show screaming till your face is blue multiple times on multiple channels, and you never get to make your point to be understood.
Yeah, no, and if we even try to make a point in the comments, she immediately blocks you.
Yeah, we can't even comment on the stuff, let alone get invited up on the show. And we have data too, Maven. We have data. But do we declare it's something against our whole entire sex because that they don't talk to us? I mean, every time John DeLynne doesn't talk to me, he says, because he hates men.
Well, with Maven, it might be.
Oh, yeah.
Maven will block you just for ideological reasons, mostly. She blocked us for ideological reasons before 100%. She blocked us for being men. But make no mistake, she does hate men. She absolutely hates men.
No, we know that.
No, she said at the end of it, she still has a holdout hope that the cavalry's not coming, but she hasn't 100%. But she also apologized for it. Says because
she also said that she doesn't trust men.
She doesn't trust men, but she can't help her feelings. Her feelings just feel those feelings. But men can't just feel those feelings. Maybe we're not allowed to just feel those feelings, or we're called an incel. Well, but I mean, maybe there's some truth with some incels in the world, but I mean, it should be understood and viewed that what you are and do, although some women take pride in this as opposed to the men, but you are a femcel. No, I'm supposed to be nice, Arista. That's nice. That's perfectly nice because you're proud about it. I mean, I guess we're going to get into that. Should we start it? Are you ready?
Let's talk about integrity. She's integritous.
Yeah, I have written down my notes. The first 5 minutes are about her integrity, and that she has to tell everybody about this because of her integrity, and that she felt like she sold her integrity down the river, not talking about it when she left that channel. I don't know if the Halverson made her integrity issue come up.
The worst thing I've ever done was not lose my fucking mind on Mormonism Live. I can't believe I violated my own principles of not telling men to die.
Integrity Farms. So I mean, so she owes it. She owes it to us that we understand it. Why Bill and RFM are just the worst. Risto says patriarchy hurts men the most. True.
Yeah.
That's what I'm told. It's Schrodinger's patriarchy. Anytime you point out, like, well, it sucks more for men in this way. They're like, yep, that's the patriarchy. Yeah. What? This is a terrible system we've set up. You're right. We should get rid of it.
So I don't know if we need to listen to any integrity stuff. So I just jump right to 5 minutes. See, that's how fast we're going. We're already beat 5 minutes. Like that's a world record for us. Unless there's something in there. You guys tell me if you remember any little thing in these things that we bring up that you wanted to hear. She brings up the Washington Post cartoon story. You guys remember the Washington Post cartoon story?
Yeah, I just remember her talking about it. I don't think I remember the actual story.
This lady posted. I can pull up the thing. Where we got? Looking for. Oh, it's a little bit harder to see this than in Facebook. 548. So it's like right there. So do you see it on the screen? That's the Washington Post cartoon, just a hilarious. I mean, I don't know if it's like I don't know if I'd put that on Bagley level. I mean, it's close. It's close. I mean, there's those tech billionaires, and they're holding money up to a great big Trump. I mean, it's a little hard. I might have to explain it to you. I mean, I don't want to be a search stoner, but let me try to explain this to you. See, the tech guys started being more neutral to Trump, and so this person viewed it as them just handing all their money over and bowing down to Trump, and I guess Mickey Mouse too. That's a great joke. Did you guys get it?
It was hilarious. You know what? Yeah, it's not quite as bad as Pat Bagley because like his would have had the word Trump written on Trump,
yeah, that is true.
and it would have had the word money written on the bag.
It would have said money on.
Yeah, it would have told you who it was, and
it would have said
Mickey Mouse, Disney, by the way. And then it would have been like, the joke is that they're giving money to Trump. And
you're right. So it is just like a dash more.
It's much more. It's less insulting to its audience than Pat Bagley, for sure.
Slightly less insulting to its audience. Just a great joke. Anyway, Bezos said we're not putting this in because we're going to try to be more neutral because we're tired of just being simple political hacks one direction. And you know that Thomas Sowell thing of like you get so used to special treatment that as soon as you get equal treatment, you think it's oppression or something like that.
Oh, that's Maven.
Oh yeah.
That's she's so used to having the mic literally anytime she wants, unlimited band power in every different ex-Mormon forum, that the second they're like, hey, let's scale it back on that. Oh my God, are you silencing me?
Yeah. Let's listen to it for a second. Do you guys hear it all right?
On there, Jeff Bezos, etc. And
I could probably speed it.
Owns the Washington Post now. So she goes on to say, while it isn't uncommon for editorial page editors to object to visual metaphors within a cartoon if it strikes that editor as unclear or isn't correctly conveying the message intended by the cartoonist, such editorial criticism was not the case regarding this cartoon. To be clear, there have been instances where sketches have been rejected or revisions requested, but never because of the point of view inherent in the cartoon's commentary.
So she gets really upset. This cartoonist quit the Washington Post because she thought that because of the content of her ideas, she got edited out, and that's why she left. So, I mean, obviously, like what she's referring to here is that she thinks that she's a journalist and doing her journalistic. I mean, is that what Mormonism Live is? Is that what it was? Like all this time, was it always like whistleblowing journalism?
I guess.
They pretend like it is.
I mean, I guess like a little bit, but like this is the point that you're like, oh my gosh! I'm one who's not for censoring people. Anybody comes on here, I don't tell them what they can and can't say ever or something like that. But at the same time, I'm not sitting here like, because of our journalistic integrity. You know what I mean? It's just commentary on something. Look at the stuff in her background. Like, she is too fond of books, and it has turned her brain.
Oh man, she needs one of those. Nevertheless, she persevered ones back there.
What is that smaller one said? I know that somebody else pointed that out when it said something weird. It said something in the heart, but I can't read it right now. She says in the thing, we just kind of pumped through it. I don't know. She's going to come back to it later of the Washington Post cartoon. She just wanted to have it fresh in our minds because this is about democracy dying in darkness. Democracy dying in darkness. Democracy dying in darkness. Which was darkness is not getting hack political views pumped down your throat 24/7 from a hack one-sided network. So she mentions, I think it's kind of a dig. Some of the stuff like just kind of digs. I think like little criticisms she never said to him, but now she's gonna let them all out. She says Bill gets overly distracted in the show and doesn't pay attention to what's going on. And I'm gonna say that my disagreement with that is the more I watch them, the more I think the person who stops paying attention all the time is RFM. Not that matters or not, but he gets lost all the time just reading the comments and not knowing what's going on. But all that stuff is like, who cares? Go do a show. That'll happen to you.
Well, I think maybe what she was saying is that like back before he had a tech person, he would get distracted trying to
And that's why she needed him. They needed him.
Yeah, but she's explained that
But
before.
it was not a dig.
I don't think it was a dig. I don't know.
Okay. We'll leave it as we don't know. She says that her point of view is valuable because female. I mean, I think this is so funny. Did you see on their program last Friday, their Mormonism After Dark, they had some chick on who was just called in. And she was just same old average chick, like deconstruction and Handmaid's Tale and patriarchy and coercive control and I don't know what's the other things. And they just like kind of kept her on, like keep going. And she's like, releases no women in the pulpit, just like all the like every single thing that we've heard forever. Once you get a woman's voice talking about this stuff.
I would love to sit down with a certain number of, like a lot of people, and teach them how in like the professional world and the online world, everywhere basically, but the dating world, how to treat women. And here's my lesson in how to treat women, like men. That's it. You just treat them like men, and nobody fucking does that because you got that lady spitting out all those lukewarm nonsense takes. Like, I like to deconstruct, and you get Bill Reel and RFM just like, oh my god, that's amazing. Like, RFM has learned nothing. That dude was the biggest Maven simp in the world. Like, the comments are always full of people like, oh my god, Maven, that was a mic drop. She said like 18 words and then
they're the
cycled them
exact
over
words
and over and over
on every single feminist Facebook page.
She just got really mad and energetic about it. And then you get RFM was doing that all the time. Oh yeah, Maven, mic drop. Ooh, girl. And you think that maybe he might learn from this. Like, okay, maybe I should just treat women like I treat men. Maybe I should just laugh at a woman's joke if that joke coming out of a man's mouth would also make me laugh.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah. That's how you do it. That's how you get the meritocracy. So some of the credit is like, what's her name? Rebecca Biblioteca. That lady, she does some of the basic arts, like feminist stuff. And I guess they're going to do that in ex-Mormonism somewhere here, whether there's a woman or not. But she actually does some coverage of other crap here and there. Like here's a boring temple story. I mean, she gets all of those temple stories, but the way she covers it is kind of like male autistic of the week.
Yeah, I don't dislike Rebecca. I mean, we made fun of her a few times, and the fucking temple steeple story, that was like, holy shit, you need to stop talking about this. It's not entertaining.
Our autist of the week is going to be Rebecca Biblioteca for giving two craps enough about those dumb temple stories to cover it again and again and again and again. We don't like the story, but we like that you're a female capable of doing anything but talking about the same old tropes. Let's see, what do we got here? She's also valuable because she was born in the church and she's a millennial different spirits. I mean, I think it'd be fine that they have all this other sort of stuff, but at the same time, like the way they just suddenly jump down the throat of some other gal who pops on, like, we need you on next week. And I just try to like imagine the same person, Maven, who is a male version of you. Some dude who plays a lot of video games, he's scruffy, hangs out in his bed at night, kind of study, just got through a little bit of graduate school, and he pops up on Mormonism After Dark and he says some kind of stuff. Imagine them going like, oh my God, we need you on. We need you on every week. Oh my God. Like, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen to the other sex.
No, it would. You want to know what would happen? It wouldn't it's not just that would happen. His notoriety would just dwarf Alyssa Grenfell. Like,
oh yeah, he'd shoot them too.
Maven's brain in a man's body would be unstoppable. 8 million subs like within a month.
Oh my god!
Think of it. It's Maven. Yeah, no, it's all of Maven's finesse.
It's all of the perfect
and
ideas.
Articulation.
The perfect ideas.
Yeah, and the perfect ideas.
And
with
the man.
Male privilege.
And the man. Oh, you got it. I think you're right. You've got the soup. You figured out the soup. I mean, we're sitting here on all these little bits of subs, and we just found out what the soup is. All we need is to have somebody have as perfect ideas.
Imagine how few subs we would have if we were women.
Oh gosh,
we'd have like 15.
We'd have like 3 subs.
Without the male privilege, we would be truly pathetic.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. Ugh. Well, thank goodness for this weenie. She said she admitted that RFM really pushed her through all the time. They covered stuff like purity culture, housing abuse, all this sort of stuff. Whistleblowers, journalists. They were making a difference, man. Make a difference. Men and women both loved her. It was great. Women who have to come up in Mormonism, they have to train themselves, police themselves to support men. Like that's their role.
That is such bullshit.
I feel like she's
What?
never met a Mormon woman in her life. That's the most insane thing I've ever heard.
You don't think that women have to police themselves in Mormonism?
Yeah, you know that Mormon woman stereotype where they're not willing to speak their mind.
Yeah.
She gets mad that Jacob uses women as his mouthpiece whenever he wants to do something like stalk Julie Hanks.
Says the lady who hijacks every male-run podcast.
Well, she also said that these guys are impotent.
Oh yeah, I was gonna comment on that because she says, "Oh, they're impotent." So I wonder, does she mean?
Shut up, a woman is Brian Hales.
Oh, she called Brian Hales an angry impotent man as well. Yeah, she's
example.
It's very, 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 very fine. I mean, I'm supposed to be nicer, Risto, tonight. I'm trying. Give me a grade, Risto. Like, am I being nice at all? Risto. But anyway, I haven't called. Did I? No, I did call her femcel. But that's not
you're not saying anything that she doesn't say. Like,
yeah, I'm not saying that. Well, I'm gonna have to get into her sterilization, but that's because she brings it up. But that's not being impotent. Anyway, go ahead. What were you gonna say, Bob?
Just like, so when she says they're impotent, is she literally saying they can't get erections because they've got kids? Or is she saying that they have no power figuratively, which runs entirely against her dumb conspiracy theory about patriarchy?
Or is it that they're only valuable as sexual performers?
Yeah.
Are you just reducing them down to sexual objects, Maven? Sounds like that to me.
She sure
is. Great news, fellas. We're one step closer to getting to live stream on Facebook. We got Sean Burke in the comments. Just joined the
Yeah.
We only need
what's that? On the pyramid scheme model, MLM model.
Welcome to
Sean. If you bring in 2 more people, we'll give you some kind of lame badge.
Yeah.
We only need 19 more, right? Is that what the number is?
19 more, and we're streaming on Facebook and to the moon because Facebook's just coming up. I don't know if you guys have heard of this Facebook thing, but it's coming up. It's coming up. The stonks are down, but that's just perfectly primed for the stonks to shoot Facebook up.
If we can stream on Facebook, that gives us access to China.
Yeah.
Oh, the market for disgruntled
males,
classical liberal ex-Mormon.
Classical liberal ex-Mormon males. Well, they yeah. Anyway.
Hey, we got RFM.
Where?
In the chat.
Well, what's going on, RFM?
What?
He's listening to us discuss very cordially.
Very, very cordial. I'm the nicer Risto this week.
We're gonna be really nice about your buddy Maven.
I think Risto is banned from Mormonism Live, so I don't know how much nicer I have to be to not be banned on that show.
So since we've established that RFM doesn't even consider Maven to be human, we can ask him like, well, what is she?
Yeah. What species is Maven?
What species is Maven?
She let us know you're a disgusting misogynist. For almost 5 hours, she let us know that.
Yeah, and how long have you been a secret racist misogynist?
He's probably
in
racist
all of us.
too, right?
You know how in The Walking Dead, if you watch The Walking Dead, the answer was that they were always zombies on the inside? Well, that's how it is with men. Like, we all always were misogynists on the inside. It just hasn't come out yet. You're just waiting for the moment to spring it on the people. Any of the bad habits that she might have is because men's fault. Talking fast or trying to be, but piled on saying that they're like Jared Halverson. Maybe not as bad as Jared Halverson, but still Jared Halverson. It's in you like The Walking Dead. And women want other jobs in the church because the pews aren't good enough.
I'd like to know what would happen if they like reversed it and made women bishops and men not. What do you think that the mavens out there would say about it? Women have to do all the work.
Yeah, what do you know? It's like, how dare the patriarchy put so much expectation and responsibility on them?
Yeah. So this part right here is about systemic systems of systems. We've talked about the systemic systems of systems. And that gets us to the Mormon bishop metaphor. I'll listen to that one for a minute.
So what happened?
Dang, that was a big
I think
pause.
it'll be helpful to bring
up
up an analogy. My metaphor here is the progressive bishop. It's quite fitting. So having a progressive bishop kind of has this effect on us of making us feel like the church is getting better. And these men who are treating us kindly and as capable women and who are trusting us, like it gives us a false sense that
I have a prediction.
Some equality there.
There is no progress.
What?
If the church tries to get better, that's actually them getting worse.
Yeah, which is the basis for most critical theories, is that it's the dialectic of the Enlightenment. If you want to go back, and the original guys who kind of started that stuff, Horkheimer and Adorno, but the idea is like it's all a fake lie. That stuff seems to get better. It's actually getting worse, and people start to get weak and soft in their belief that they doesn't need to be fought against anymore because they think stuff's getting better. Also, it's actually just as bad the whole time.
Making things better is just cover for making things worse.
Almost always. There's a limit.
She's talking about the progressive bishop and how grateful you are to have a progressive bishop, and you're like, and you find out devastatingly enough that he only agrees with you on like 88% of things. And so that's nothing.
That is way low, Jared. That is way low.
Yeah.
It's got to be 2 degrees off for you to be.
How are you not incrementally excited about things?
This is the idea of the critical theory. No incrementalism. That's what they use.
I know there's
no incrementalism.
I get excited, like, I have criticized Bill Reel and RFM a lot. And every time they say something that I think is cool, I'm like, that was cool. That's a cool thing you did there. But you disagree with me on the rest of the stuff, so fuck off. Yeah. We can't talk. You broke my heart, Fredo.
Yeah, I mean, everything you ever said is a lie, because we disagreed on if we liked Friends, the TV show, I guess.
Like a glass ceiling, if you will, and we'll hit it. Right. Like sometimes it comes up like from higher up the chain, like that general authority who was offended at seeing female leadership seated up on the stand at church, like when he visited wards in California, right? And then, of course, he demanded for these women to get back off the stand and into the pews where you belong, right? Got to avoid the appearance of evil, right? Which in this case is
I don't know the story she's talking about.
I do.
I'm guessing that she's misrepresenting it.
We talked about it here. It did happen. It was like in California or something that they started having women up on the pews, and some general authority saw it and said, no more of that, or something like that, which I don't know. That's the church and their patriarchy and all that stuff. Maybe that's bad too. I don't know if I care that it's bad or isn't bad, but Bill and RFM aren't that. Like, come on, the question I question if like the church is necessarily bad, that they have their ways because that's just their traditions or whatever. But Bill and RFM aren't that. I mean, we know Marty, who comes on our show. We've all been on Marty's show. We're friends with Marty. We've hung out with Marty. Bill Reel brought us Marty. You know what I mean? Bill Reel it now has that. What's that? She's been seeing podcast lady. The lady's also excoriating him all over Facebook and saying, let's jump it on the bandwagon because that's what they got to do tribally. Like, we got to be on her. I see her. I'm on her side. I'm on her side. I see them all because of Bill and RFM, who built up their podcast on merit because they spent years, both of them, inside of the church. They both spent time as like apologists on that side, inside of the church, both of them. They put in the dues. They've done all the dues, and they put in the show. They do the dues of the show. It really was built on a meritocracy. And then they try to spread it around. We got to get women's voices out there. And the only one who's probably gracious about it is the one who's been slightly just critical all along because she's just slightly conservative is Marty. And she's only critical like from just saying like, I don't know about some of this stuff. And she would never throw you under the bus like that.
Yeah, thanks for introducing us to Marty. As an avowed, well, as a proclaimed misogynist, I definitely dislike all women, but I dislike Marty less than a lot of other women.
Yeah, but we've hung out with Marty a couple times and everything, and we love Marty, and we wouldn't know Marty if it wasn't for Bill Rill.
Mm-hmm. Marty's dope.
Yeah. The progressive bishop metaphor why is it a metaphor? It's a metaphor because you're calling Bill Rill and RFM the progressive bishop metaphor, which kind of goes back into my irritation with most of the ex-Mormon scenes that they can't help but turn John DeLynn into a stake president, and they can't help but fail. Like, you guys are the ones turning RFM and Bill into bishops. Like, you guys are the ones doing it.
Well, it's I don't know. She's talking about this fall from grace. Where did she actually think that they agreed with her on literally everything? Was that her actual? Like, what a stupid idea to come into a relationship and be like, these guys agree with me on everything, at least everything important. And then the moment you find out they only agree with you on most things, and the thing that they might not agree with you on all the way, they still Bill Reel has said multiple times that he's pro-life. He's just willing to talk to other people. That's
he's gone into detail
he's like,
about it.
I'll talk. He's like, I'll talk to other people about it.
Yeah,
and that's all. Oh my God. You'll talk to other.
And we're going to come to, I don't want to do that, but I don't know if RFM ever wanted to express his full position on it, and she might have outed him on it right here because he didn't want to go into those politics. I don't know that I've ever heard him talk about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're also kind of playing hide the ball here because, like, there's, like, I like I've said before, like I told Maven, I think that abortion should be legally protected. It should be private. Like I'm the Bill Clinton guy. It should be safe, legal, and rare. Maven isn't just advocating for access to abortion. She has an extremist, hate-based viewpoint that is authoritarian, supremacist, dehumanizing. Like, it goes so far beyond just, do you think abortion should be legal with her? But the thing is, she's like, I had the conversation with her in private on DMs. Like, I asked her simply, like, is there any compromise?
Yeah, and you guys had it on the debate in the show here.
Well, no, but
had it present live and in person.
Yeah, no, so I mean, like, and I tried to get further with her in DMs where, just because it's easier in DMs because, I don't, just for all the reasons that it is. And she's made it very, very clear. No, she is not willing to compromise at all. Like, it's either abortion for any reason at any time without restrictions at all, or you literally don't think she's human. Yeah. And you're a racist, misogynistic piece of shit. Yep. And she will fucking.
And you're not invited to be on her show, even though you say you're welcome to stay on the show. And really, ultimately, I mean, they kind of say let's avoid politics, but I bet you anything, it ultimately was just let's just not be such a bull in a china shop about that. Like, I bet you she could have talked about it plenty of times more and just kind of like said, my position on this is, what it is, But
having Maven discuss reproduction on your podcast is like having a Nazi discuss race relations. Like, and I'm not exaggerating. Like, that's literally the level she's at. She's an absolutist. She's an extremist. Like, her whole thing is powered by a persecution fantasy. This whole thing where everybody's out to get her and people like her. Yeah. Which, and it's not true, obviously.
So I think she kind of does one of the things here, if you go over like the next 10 minutes of something that feminists kind of do to themselves of saying that like our power is only given to us. And it's like, you guys make that true by announcing it. You know what I mean? Like, you're in a world that's just not true. Like, you can go make a podcast, you can get big, you can do stuff. You could have apprenticed here on this show for 10 years until you were a big enough name that you could have parlayed it into anything. And just by kind of playing within the rules like you do as any employee somewhere or something, like, you find your little places to put, if you were somebody who had any sort of chill.
You know what's funny is like one of the funniest parts about this whole thing is she's so engrossed in this world that she didn't even bother trying to provide evidence for her claim that the reason they like told her to stop is because they're misogynist. She just said it, and then she didn't.
Yeah, no.
She didn't say, and here's why I think that this is misogynist. And she just said, "Yep, they're misogynist." And
no, I mean,
that's her brain. She thinks that you just fully you're fully gonna just back that up.
Said it many times. Unless you agree with her, you are necessarily a racist, misogynist, and you don't think women are human. She said it 50 times.
And that too, and you can almost say it as a joke nowadays that we jump the category, but no, it does jump the category. They think that also includes racism in it, and all the way there. Like you're all the way there. You might as well have. There's this thing in critical race theory called interest convergence theory. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
Works. People aren't talking about it, but the whole
that's the thing we mentioned earlier, that progress is regression to them.
Progress regression. In interest convergence theory, Derek Bell says white people can only do stuff for blacks out of their own interest. And so if you go to help them, you're only being more racist. And so I would frequently argue with people about that back when that was the topic du jour back in the day, and be like, I have to argue this point because if I argue on the other point, Derek Bell thinks I'm even more of a racist because I'm just doing it for my benefit.
Well, Maven and feminisms generally says the exact same thing. Like, I mean, it's because
she said it here.
Personality disorder, yeah. But like, first off, we need men to be our allies, but you better not try to help us.
What we're going to come to here, because I mean, she mentions it a couple times. I don't know if we'll listen to the exact moment, but she says she thinks that they were kind of like laundering in her credibility as a feminist to use it to like wear it as a mask for their show to increase their popularity. She says that. She says that right here. Like I was being
backfired.
It was an interest convergence.
Yeah.
So from her point of view, even when they were being nice, it could have only been out of self. All the way back to the Ayn Rand there, right? Well, it's all just out of self interest. She says at 24, she announces that this was about reproductive rights. And like when you watch those like thesis videos on YouTube and they do like a quick cut to some like somebody saying something from a movie, that usually drives me nuts because it's like not really necessary to any sort of script. But that's the one time I wanted to do it to the guy from Dexter who goes, "Surprise, motherfucker."
I didn't promise Risto to be nice, so I can just say that this still that we have right now is giving me major Nurse Ratched vibes.
I know. I was trying to place my finger on it and I couldn't.
That's what it is. No, she's exactly that.
It's Duper's Delight. Look up what a Duper's Delight.
Yeah, it is Duper's Delight. Yeah.
Duper's Delight.
Risto, I didn't ask you, Flip. I knew better.
I know.
Risto, I swear in my heart, I felt like I was going to try at the start, but I feel like I'm now talking to my judge, and I stand naked before you.
I spent all day yesterday driving around training a recent evangelical Christian, a recent born again Christian, and I was very nice to him the whole time.
So that's paying alms to what you were going to do tonight.
Exactly. It's a supererogation. It's like
that's the funniest part. Like the biggest thing that we're accused of is not having empathy. But like you go to the first Longhouse post about the Maven thing, and you get like Troy and Steve and Risto and like all the guys. Charles might have been in there. I can't remember, but like all these guys say, "Man, I really feel bad for her. She's got some issues." Like they're being very empathetic.
Knows it, and you want to know what? I feel bad picking on her too, and I wouldn't if this was just a Maven thing. But this isn't just a Maven thing. Like this really is an archetype, if you will, and it's an archetype that seeps in everywhere, and we've watched it seep in our 20 years in the ex-Mormon space here. Like this thing where some sort of ideological person just comes along and announces. I was talking to you guys about it in one of the threads. You remember I told you about Milkshake Gate? Milkshake Gate is the thing where all the comics in the world, RFM, he's still out there. He's a big comics guy. Look up what Milkshake Gate is. This whole thing happened with Comics Gate, where there was these guys for 20, 30 years just put in all the time in the world as apprentices to become true meritocratic experts in the comics. And then at some point around 2010, 2011, people turned around and looked and said, who's running all these comics now? And they looked, and there was a picture of all these girls drinking milkshake who were in charge of all the different Marvel comics. And they were all basically 20-something women like Maven running all these different things. And they remembered through the 80s when these autistic guys who never bathed, who worked 20 years doing other people's comics to finally get a chance to do one of their own, like worked into doing comics. And that's why they were just so insanely good and intense and well done. We're suddenly all being done by people who just had a basic Brown University undergrad understanding of feminism, and they were running all the different comics now.
Which you've pointed out, if RFM is still listening, that shit's happening to Shakespeare.
Yep, it's happening to Shakespeare, the decolonized Shakespeare, but it's happened. We watched it happen all over. We watched it happen with Mormon expression. We watched it happen with, there's some panel, there's some sort of meritocratic built thing, and it just gets taken over by people like I think I sent you guys that meme with that guy of women wanting to get into Warhammer 40K, and she's like, I want to get into this, I'm really into it, and they're like, no, you're not. Tell the truth. No, I'm really into Warhammer 40K. Tell the truth. So, I don't like that you have something big and I want to break it. She says here that there's only two camps only. Women are human beings. That's literally it. Women, human beings or objects. That's literally it.
I wish we had the clip of John Larson saying, beware of people who give you black and white propositions.
Yeah, the Sith thing.
So there's two ideological camps here, okay? And which one you're in, it all comes down to how you answer a single question. Are women human beings or are women objects? That's literally it. That's the heart of this issue.
That's literally bullshit.
No, it is not.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, you asserted it, we de-asserted it. Over. Yeah. Like, debate over.
Yeah, no, that's not it.
Human rights or state rights? It's people or property. Is it my body, my choice, or your body, my choice?
It's just Nick Fuentes or Maven. That's the camps, guys. Do you guys choose Nick Fuentes or do you choose Maven? Which one's your choice, you guys?
We get someone new in the chat, and Risto's already evangelizing Kurosawa.
Risto, I said no Kurosawa evangelizing. You gotta reel it in around here, man. I mean, I know you got your beliefs, but
he was an old white adjacent man.
Someone shadow ban him. I'm just kidding. Risto can preach around here all he wants, and if he ever starts a church, all must join or you're out. Okay.
You think women are human beings and deserve to control their own bodies and make their own life decisions because it benefits both them and society as a whole the most. And
what if I believed all that, but then I didn't believe you because, like, am I out? You're out. You're out. You didn't
recognize that without it, women are dehumanized and violated and subjugated and otherwise greatly harmed. Then you align with the pro-choice movement, as I do. Clearly.
Clearly. Yeah,
you're either a National Socialist and you understand that the reason Germany lost World War I was because the Jews stabbed them in the back, or or you think that Germans are human. Like, Jesus.
They both claim good things, but no, results matter over what you proclaim. People ain't property. Pro-life treats women as property. They're evil, and sometimes they don't know they're evil. It's a universal human behavior and cognitive dissonance. I mean, she lectures RFM and Bill a whole lot about their cognitive dissonance here. Literally, white supremacists might believe that they aren't racist. That literally happens.
Literally, Maven might believe that she's not a raging misogynist. Misandrist.
Misandrist. Yeah. They think women and baby are equal humans until she doesn't want the baby, and then they aren't equal. She makes that claim right here. It's like the second they don't want the baby, they aren't equal humans.
Well, remember, because I mean, I don't. They're never. Are they? I hope they release it someday. But in Marty and Morgan's interview with her, when she claimed that men are far more likely to fiddle with birth control to rope a woman into a pregnancy.
Oh yeah, that one was wild.
Like, just absolute backwards world.
Well, she made the claim right there that you claim to want good things, and once again she brought up the thing of saying that increased pro-life things like abortion bans increase abortions, and just go Grok and Chat GPT that to see if that's true.
I mean,
and no,
it is absurd on its face. It really is absurd on its face.
But like mathematically, you think that more people will want like people that didn't want abortions when it was illegal, or that when it was legal?
Oh, it's
like hey, now I want an abortion.
It's the teenager thing. When you say something's bad, then they want to do it even more.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
The Grok thing can say that, like, at best right now, you can kind of say that maybe it's kind of coming out 6s, but that's also because the abortions are still widely available in places where they're banned, so you can't really do real analysis on that. It's lying by statistics. But on top of that too, there may be some idea that like people know less about birth control, or they have birth control moved or something like that. But the thing is, like, it just hasn't panned out. And if she's saying that it has panned out, she's giving you ideological or cooked numbers. We know how they like to p-hack numbers. At best, that stuff's coming out equal right now, and we have no idea what it's like if there's complete abortion bans suddenly right now tomorrow yet. But she can keep using it. She says, textbook, you're forcing them to have a baby. It's objectification. I'm tired of arguing definitions. I'm tired of arguing these definitions with you. If you're pro-life and think I misrepresent you, I'm not. I know you'll say I don't, but I am more accurate. I cut out a part of her saying the first incident talking about super sexist ex-Mormon Jacob and abortion, and she rants about it. So at 33:36, she talks about when Bill Real had to call her, and I think this is kind of the interesting thing, to give her the first piece of feedback. This is the first piece of feedback she ever got from them. Like, the first time ever they said, I got to talk about it. I wonder what was going through Bill's mind when he knew he had to call her and talk to her about this. Like, do you think he was like, she talks later about how she's super scared to call and talk to them. How do you think he felt that, like, I got to ask Maven to reel it in tonight? How do you think he felt right before that phone call?
Yeah. Terrified.
I mean, he had to have known her. I mean, knew her better than we do. And we know that would be a hellish call.
I mean, is he married?
He's got a girlfriend now. I don't know if he did at that time.
So I get a text from Bill asking for a phone call. So we have a call and there's feedback. So first we talked about that there's a pretty severe tone shift between like Bill and RFM's segment of the show versus when I came on, right? And that's true. Like that's valid.
Remember that segment? I think we pulled up that segment and we obviously talked about it. Not just a tone shift. Yeah, it went from they're just doing a show. I think they were just talking about other things entirely, and she came on out of nowhere and just gave her ideological super rant out of nowhere.
That's valid, but that's valid feedback. Like after the fact, like that's fine. This is normal example of feedback, right? But what came next wasn't. This is where it lines up. Bill tells me like he's had some complaints and emails from donors, pro-life donors, about my subject and threatening to stop donating.
Those
and that
dirty pro-lifers.
He wanted to avoid politics on the show. He went on to say like basically like my stance on autonomy is just a political opinion, right? And that both sides are valid.
Maybe you're on a show where people are deconstructing Mormonism, and they're there ostensibly to help people deconstruct Mormonism. And there's probably some people who are halfway through that stuff. Maybe they'll even end up at your ideology or something like that. But you're there screaming at them that they have to accept your full bore hard shift or they're the devil, And they're saying maybe reel that in a little bit on this show that's just supposedly helping people inch themselves out of Mormonism.
And being too black and white in my thinking, not enough nuance. I'm just mad that people are just disagreeing with me. And
how many people do you think she's heard that from?
I know, but I like that she's like that was some kind of wild accusation. Like, no, that
was the weird part.
Yeah, that was the weird part. Like, no, you spent 3 hours being mad that people are being disagreeing with you on this very podcast.
You called me worse than a rapist for disagreeing with you. I hate to belabor that point. I love bringing it up, but that might be
multiple times.
Yeah, it's 3 times you've doubled down on that. Like, it's less insulting and it's more bewildering because it is definitely the worst thing anybody has ever said about me. And people have said some mean things to me before.
You want to know? Yeah, you want to know what I think is worse, Jared? I can't do a Norm Macdonald.
Yeah.
I think the rape is worse. The rape.
Yeah, it's a fringe political topic. It's not really related to the show or Mormonism, and
Or reality.
I had to stop Bill there. What? What's more Mormon than reproductive coercion of women? Like
Mormonism.
Yeah, a lot of things.
Nothing. This little teeny short conversation.
I
before
thought
we even hung up, I was getting this like pit in my stomach, right? My emotions were starting to rise to the surface. So as soon as he finished,
starting.
He asked me like if I had questions or thoughts and feedback. Like, he's totally open to it. So we hung up, and I burst into tears.
And before he called you, he said, "How on earth could I make that one thing not happen?" And he found out that there was 0 chance.
Hey, by the way, you fucking lied. You promised that you blocked out all the performative pauses.
I tried, dude. Like, I can show you. This thing is 3 hours and 6 minutes. It's 3 hours and 6 minutes. I did. Like, you can even see the edits if I put this thing up. I'll show you like there's an edit there, an edit there, an edit there, an edit there.
The first word I see when you pull that up is valid. Of course.
For me, it was a devastating phone call. A couple days later, I sent Bill.
See, that was a cut right there. Did you see that?
Yeah, I believe.
Like, I promise you, that was like
Sides are
15 and a half minutes right there.
Phone call. A couple days later,
Thank you, 15 and a half minutes right there.
I sent Bill a text, just kept asking more about the feedback. He's talking about the feedback because I had checked again. I'd gone back and I was looking through the live chat and the comments on the video again.
And you're welcome, Maven. I cut out about 755,000 ums.
And like 10 to 1, I'm having trouble seeing what's so different about this time and this issue than any other similar issue on a similar episode. So he did forward a few emails and encouraged me to read the comments on the show, which again, I already had. Like, yeah, I see there's negative comments, but like, they happen. We get them. Like, I'm just vastly outnumbered by this.
Anyway, she talks about the douchebag Mormon bros are political. They get political. So if they get political, why can't I be political? There's some of the stuff that I don't think she's 100% wrong about, in the sense of that, of course, that can be a Mormon topic. I'm not saying it's not a Mormon topic. It's just, I agree with Bill that it doesn't have to be a topic. Like, they don't have to go down that road and bring it up and upset people at all for the stuff that they're doing.
It is not the only thing that matters.
Mm-hmm.
Charles said, I work with someone who is always asking me for feedback and input, but I refuse to because my very professional and concrete feedback has left her in tears multiple times. This must be exhausting.
Oh, Charles, that lady's going to be your boss by this time next year.
I had a friend of mine, Flip knows him. I'll just say it here. I got to say it. He fancies himself a very musical genius. And one time he wanted me to compare one of his songs to Paul McCartney's Yesterday and which one was better. And I had to sit there for a while and go, well, I mean, I think Paul McCartney's Yesterday is a better song than that song. And the days and days and days and days that I had to argue with him. And I'm like, dude, you're comparing it to like the most covered song in American history. I can say your song's fine. I just didn't say it was the best one ever, or one of the most famous songs in history is a bit better than it. And I had to deal with a barrage of a couple weeks of.
I think that people need to get really good at detecting when what the person is requesting is that you lie to them. It's like the classic example of like, what do you say when your wife asks you if she's gained weight? Like, well, she's asking you to lie to her, because if she asks that, she's probably gained some weight and she probably knows it. And she wants you to lie to her and say that. You tell her, yeah, you've gained a little bit of weight, but that's okay. That's what you should say.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is like, I've written a bunch of songs too. And if anybody out there ever once wants to tell me that they think Yesterday is better than any one of my songs, I could not fathom getting upset at you about that in my life. I can't picture that, you know. Let's see here. She goes into How could I miss that these two men, these friends, they were my colleagues for 3 years. How are they not on board? What have I said on air that is nothing to how bad we've talked about behind the scenes? I mean, I assume that's true. You talk nastier behind the scenes. Some of our comment threads are maybe a little bit more harsh than we're being right now or something like that. She goes into some long detail about how abortion spun her out in her life, which we all know this a little bit. Like she said, she had a death of a family member, that the daughter's decision spun her out, that she heard about stories about babies in a dumpster and she called it, which that baby never should have been rescued alive in a dumpster. It should have been killed in the womb. Like that would have been far more humane. I mean, that's how, I mean, I'm just so disgusted it could live in a dumpster. It should have been killed in a womb. She had soul, deep despair, hopeless, white heart, rage, this cruelty to women. She's going through fitful naps, emergency psychiatric. It just broke her. She had been going through all this stuff. So she's giving the background on that. And she talked about how she scheduled herself for a sterilization, which we brought up. And Maven, that's so extreme. Like, it's so extreme. And she's still on birth control, even though she's had her tube tied and all that sort of stuff. And still, like, when she gets into that stuff, that's when you go, like, this is beyond unhealthy. Like, this is a psychosis of some sort. Like,
it's like Superman wearing a Kevlar vest.
No, it's a delusion. It's absolutely a delusion.
And she's still on birth control, and she's had her tubes tied, and is afraid she's going to be forced into having a baby by a rape that's never happened to her yet, or I don't know, who knows what the heck's happened in her past. But like, what you're walking around afraid of, like that anvil's not hanging there, Maven. It's not hanging there.
The dick of Damocles.
That should be the name of the podcast. We're going to change the name of the entire podcast to the Dick of Damocles. These are my close friends, RFM in particular, the Dick of Damocles. Oh my gosh. They encouraged my growth. Yes, Maven, they were extremely nice to you. They were nicer to you than anybody in Ex-Mormon has ever been to most ex-Mormons. You know what I mean? They put you on the show and thought that you were brilliant when you were average at best. They maybe thought that they could use your computer savvy. I'm sure there's better tech bros out there. You know, the first single conversation changed me. Did they never like me? Like, come on, like that's so extreme. Like, that's so extreme.
They never like me?
Yeah.
They like you too much.
Well, this is, she comes across, she figures something out about men. I want her to break it to you, because it's kind of a thing that, like,
is this going to be shocking?
It might make you guys go, I didn't really think of like men that way, but I mean, I guess it could be true.
But you know, that's also something like men will do. Like, they'll hide their own opinion if they don't want to argue about it with a woman, and they'll just like nod their head and go along. So maybe that's what they do.
Oh my God, that's the first truth thing I've ever heard her say about men.
Maybe she is figuring us out a little bit.
Why would they do that? Like, are you like? I mean, no woman has ever been known to retaliate against a man.
It's weird to me that a man would hide his opinion because he doesn't want to argue with a woman when he has the patriarchy on his side.
Yeah. Well, I say, like, I mean, I was always confused why my dad didn't just use his power of patriarchy to stop my mom from smearing him every week in church to everyone that would listen to her. Like, all he had to do was to say, "Woman, I have patriarchy, be silent." And all the bishops and all the elders would say, "Hey, lady, you got to stop talking. That's how this works. Everybody knows that, right?" Like, no, that's not how that went down.
How could they be on the fence and think my rights are opinions? Like, how could there be opinions about this? There can't be opinions about this. How could you think you could be pro-life and not anti-women? How could you think this? She takes her first chance to push her own channel a little bit. Then she says, I saw this as an attempt to censor me or fire me. Like, letting you come on and talk all you want ever, and then one time you went kind of off the rails and upset some people. is and they asked you to maybe kind of reel it in, is
Yeah.
censoring you. So she's going to focus now on the call of when she called them back to resign, because she sat and roasted on that for a few days. And let's see here if I can get to that. She spent a lot of time writing it. This is one of the things I think is really weird about it, actually. She wrote them like she had to, on a phone call with them, read them her response that she wrote out. Every time like we have a podcast and like we talk about it in between, like say something, Jared writes us this like 3-page letter of like, guys, I didn't want to say this to you personally, but I've got a 3-page letter I've got to get off my chest here.
I'm gonna start doing.
Guys, I had a 3-page letter of some thoughts that I needed to give to you, and but
I told a joke back there, and you guys didn't laugh at it very much, and it really made me feel unheard.
What, did it
Yeah.
Did it let you know we hate all men?
It let me know you hate me specifically, and the only reason
but
you hate me is because of identity characteristics. So yeah,
your entire gender is why I couldn't laugh at that. I hate your entire gender, and that made that joke. Well, it was a funny joke, but I couldn't laugh at it because I hate you and I'm a misandrist.
My last chance. I just want to say here that the fact that I could even that this conversation can happen at all is a testament to how much trust I had in these men. And if you understand patriarchal cultures at all, especially intense ones,
you'd know better than to trust men.
Speak up against men
It's
in general.
Scary to speak up against men. Maven, again, I want you, because I'm pretty sure she's not very good at putting herself in the other position. She doesn't seem to have.
What gives it away?
What is the word for that? Like putting yourself into things. I swear, like feminists have taught me a word for that. Like putting yourself in the position of other people. I'm a male because so I don't really have very much of it, but I'm pretty sure that Maven's never empathized with what it must have been like for Bill to try to call her up, as their show that they've built up is at risk of losing donors for her ranting about her political opinion, and he has to call her up just to ask her to reel it in a bit. Was it scary for him? Was he nervous to talk to you at all? Did that cross your mind even a little bit of how difficult it might be to talk to you about something?
Are you asking her to have empathy?
I don't know that word. Could you?
Yeah, man, empathy's gay. We don't do that shit.
And empathy is a homosexual sexual position.
But wait a minute. Here's something weird. She says she knew they wouldn't blow up. But what? Like, did they know that when they were talking to you? Did they know that?
They're like, surely she'll only podcast about us for like 3 hours. It won't be 9. It won't be 9 hours that gets cut down to 4.5. No way.
I was feeling a rejection, deep rejection. I cannot see it any other way but rejection of my humanity. So on our call, I read the whole thing. I don't know if we're gonna read this whole thing. Minute 49 there.
I mean, that's the other thing about this 4.5-hour podcast is it could easily have been cut down to 4.5 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Like to say everything she needed to say, like it was all there.
I'm not gonna listen to this because it'll take forever. It's your show. I agree with the feedback. I should have run it by you. First time you had an issue. Yeah. There you go. That should have been that entire letter. Maybe like. Yes, I went hard on tone. You are transparent. You aren't transparent. Well, no, it's shifted here. You aren't transparent with me anymore. It's not. Wait a minute. The one time they had an issue with you, they asked you to reel it in. That's pretty transparent there. Man.
Yeah, they were absolutely direct.
It's not.
They could have just fired you without even saying anything.
Yeah,
that was an option available to them, and they didn't do that.
Yeah, we think we need to go a different way. That was available to them. Yeah. It's not entitlement. This feels like a shift from your side. Bill, you said no politics. I call bullshit. Feminism is the real reason. Women's the real reason. It's about me. It's about reproductive rights. The nature of all. This is always controversial. Bad Mormonism cause of harm is controversial. Being whistleblowers, being a hero is risky. This is important to me. And it betrays the brand to not let me talk about this. So she's telling them about their brand now. You decenter me to pander to people who supports you.
Right. If she's being decentered, did that mean that she actually felt that she was centered at one point? Which would totally lay to rest her claims that they silenced her because she's a woman.
We always get gripes and listener support. You are changing and listening to the wrong side. How dare for listening to a man who was adopted out or what his opinion is about that. That's about as valid as a guy who said that their parents' marriage broke up over gayness. Like, that part right there, like, get me wrong, like Maven, like come on, like both of those two things are things worth that word again, the E word, empathizing over. Somebody was adopted out personally themselves instead of aborted. Somebody had their parents break up over a gay marriage, and they weren't just supposed to tap dance and praise the universe for the love that was experienced for their dad running off with a dude. Like, you can't empathize with that. That's just homophobic to think that there's anything upsetting about that at all. I remember there was that new Hulu show where that lady, I forget what it was called, but some lady did that after like years of marriage and had like 5 kids or something like that. And the men, it showed like the man in the show, her husband, who was still upset about it years later, like he was some sort of bigot. He was still upset about her ditching out on him and their 5 kids to run off with their lesbian relationship. He's just a bigot. Like he can't have any feelings. Maybe can have her feelings. Like her feelings okay. But that guy cannot have feelings. It's bigoted for him to have feelings that his marriage broke up because his wife needed to live authentically.
Well, she had this conversation with us, and like it was funny because she's talking about the token pro-life person who, well, she's trying to talk about why abortion is preferable to a hard life, and she describes a hard life like being really poor and like bad. I mean, and then Charles is in the chat. He's like, "Hey, fuck you, man! You just described me."
Yeah. Democrat man, go back in time and abort the baby. You saved the day.
In the unreleased interview with Marty and Morgan, she literally says that you should abort a baby because the baby might live a life of horrific abuse. And like she gives no qualification to it. It's like any random pregnancy, because it could end up in abuse, you should just abort it. It's bonkers.
Yeah. Anyway, like it is valid also, Maven, that somebody who's lived through a marriage that got broken up, so somebody could go live authentically if they're still upset that other marriage part broke up. That's valid. It's not homophobic. I never thought this was happening. We're handing Jacob's ass to him. The comments don't have real true Maven approved. I know I wrote that. The abortion supporters don't like to be lumped in with extremists, but they are responsible. They are indistinguishable. If they aren't with us, they are against us. I think I wrote that. They are just as misogynist. So it's like all this extremist stuff too. If you're just if you're just 5 degrees off of her, you're all the way off of her. Like you're all the way the other direction. Like that's Manichaean. You can't deal with people being that Manichaean. There's not a room for people to come together and understand each other. Even it's like the church not liking being lumped in with baddies. It's the same delusion. It's like Christian Republicans don't like being lumped in with the KKK. Some are still uncomfortable with the gays. They say no race talk, but we keep talking about race. So why are you coming down on me? I made it clear. I made it because like no race talk is like you've got to be all the way on board with Ibram X. Kendi, or you're a Ku Klux Klan member. That's you, Maven. Like Ibram X. Kendi's a bullshitter and full of shit. And if you're not all the way on board with him, you're not a KKK grandmaster. Some are uncomfortable with the gays. Let's see. I made it clear that they are all baddies, and I can see that you see them as legitimate. I don't get it. Cry. I wrote down cry, and I put a lot of dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I guess that was a little spell that I didn't cut out right there. So we get to skip that. It's a Matthew Gong moment. This is like Matthew Gong with his gay son. He says he supports him, but no family pictures with their gay partner. And she's all black pilled now, and I can't fix you. That's pretty much the whole thing. So how did they respond? They said it's just the same. They said just the same stuff. It's fringe. It's not necessarily Mormon. Both sides are frustrated. They were kind. She admitted they were kind, but she says reproductive rights are very Mormon, and then gave I wrote out I cut out that she listed a long ranty reason of why it's Mormon to talk about the reproductive rights.
So that's how they responded. I really thought they were going to respond by telling her to go make them a sandwich or something like that.
Yeah.
Maven, we're the patriarchs.
I'm sorry,
Shut up,
Maven. We don't understand you. You're not even human. How can we possibly relate to anything you're saying? It's like trying to get a recipe from a dog. What do you expect us to do?
It is wild. Bill says it has nothing to do with Mormonism. That's bullshit. For them, maybe, because they're men. Men matter more. We talked about analogies to other rights. And this stuff drives me crazy. It drives me crazy
That
with
was
all Mormons.
The ironclad law of woke projection right there, though.
Yeah.
Men matter more. No, you think women matter more. You don't believe in equality, Maven, and stop pretending like you do.
Yep. The analogies to other rights drives me crazy. No, each one of those little marches are their own things. We talk about the Selma envy and all that sorts of stuff. No, your little pet issue is not the same thing as Martin Luther King, Maven. It's not the same thing. They're different situations. They're different marches. They're different ideas. No, your little either you're with me or against me on all abortion should be legal is not exactly the same thing as gay rights. No, trans rights are not the exact same as gay rights. There's differences in each one of these things. There's new man, these words I keep
There's
nonsense. There's nonsense. There's nonsense in the trans thing. Is that the right word? Did I say the right word?
Well, I don't think so, because I'm pretty sure nonce is a British slang for pedo.
What? Did I say the wrong word? I was saying nonsense. There's nonsense in the trans wait. Nuance. There I go.
Cancelled.
Women are just lesser. Bill and RFM disagreed. How? These things are human rights. Wah. But Bill, I've typed these things in, so I hope that's not too much editorializing, but you can probably picture the wah with 7 A's that I wrote right there. But Bill makes a social media post saying things like both sides and Trump Zelensky. He does stuff like this. She keeps doing these things now she's trying to associate them with bad political ideas and bad political. He says things like both sides nuance on Trump Zelensky. Wow, he has the wrong politics, not the right side of herstory. They were vague. How dare they say both sides? How dare they say there's no place that you can draw a line? They can say what they want. It was just against me. Maybe there is something particular about you, Maven. Wait, I editorialized it right there. Maybe there is something particular about the way you address it, Maven. She says, they look down on me. They don't have any humility.
Holy shit. Look, we can't stop every time she woke projects, okay?
Exactly.
Yeah, we need to have a bell or something we can ring.
Yeah.
Every time she does the woke projection.
Folks, we are 1 hour into my 3-hour edit of the 4 hour and 30 minute.
Oh man, I got to get up early tomorrow.
No, you got to sit through this. Oh man, we're an hour and a half in. We can do this. We can rifle through it. Anyway, this is the thing that Risa wanted to mention. She says, I totally already understood the other side because I was the other side.
No.
Yeah.
That's so much like Kara always saying, I watched a few Gavin McInnes skits. I was totally a Gavin McInnes fan. She understands the entirety of the right because she saw a few Gavin McInnes skits. I don't think that announcing that in your youth you were kind of uncritically part of a side gives you any sort of intel into that side. I was the other side. And I guess you must have been worse than Hitler and a rapist, half of your life.
Yeah, we had a great we had a great moment in the comments where Risto has this talent for just innocently talking to people and being nice to them and getting them to just take their mask off and say the most depraved shit imaginable.
Yeah.
And at one point in the live stream, he asked Maven if she could steel man the pro-life position, and she said, "I won't do that. I'm not interested in steel manning white supremacy. I wouldn't steel man them either. It's the same."
Yeah.
I just have this vision of like a young Maven at home, and she's sitting with her family. She says, "Dad, am I human?" And he goes, "No, honey, you're not." And she goes,
"Oh,
"Okay."
you're a woman."
So here's Envy. Flip said in the comments when he was first watching this that she was breaking the world's projections per minute record, the PPM, and
the projections per minute.
She's already done a whole lot of those, but here's a big one.
And it's inevitable when you hold beliefs that certain groups of people are beneath you. It effectively prevents any kind of true, like, genuine understanding, regardless of your sincerity.
No
And I
way.
think that's what happened here.
You don't say.
Projections per minute, but man, like, did you just do like projections and break that record by just doing a ton of little projections? But like, she's got like whoppers of projections inside of her record run. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think anybody else could do as much of a record run and land such big like haymakers.
It's like recursion of projections.
Yeah.
I think the worst one was when she talked about how maybe it's not so much a projection, but close to the end, how she talked about how tired she is of seeing the other side and reaching across bridges to talk to these people. I was like, look, Maven, I say this sincerely. I don't know anyone who I would say is less capable of doing that than you.
Yeah.
I wrote down here, and I think this is a recurring theme, so maybe we don't have to repeat it again so we can get through it more. But she repeats again and again and again that people don't understand her, and I think it equates to unless they agree 1,000% with her and become an activist, they don't understand her.
Well, no, that's clear. That's very clear. That's what she means by. I mean, it's the same thing she means by listening, and conversely, if you listen to her carefully, understand everything she says, and say, "I disagree with you, and this is why," that's called silencing her. You're literally silencing her if you listen carefully and respond directly and say, "Respectfully, I disagree." That's silencing.
So we get to the...
that's what Bill and RFM did to her, and she called it silencing. So we get to the money shot of the phone call.
None of them are willing to step up to make a real difference. I resigned. At the very end of the call, I tell Bill and RFM,
"You can't fire me because I quit."
Because when this whole thing happened, like, I picked up on it. She says some of the smarter people picked up on it, and I'm just kind of like, anybody watching picked up on it. Like, nobody had to be astute at all. They watched, they could tell that you were all steamed up or something. But I was surprised to find out that you weren't pushed out.
Yeah, I know, that was the surprising part. I really thought they got rid of her.
I thought they got rid of her, and they felt they had to get rid of her, and I was surprised to find out that they tried to keep her. And she says right here, they repeated. There was a point she said, at the start of the phone call, I was 95% sure I was quitting, and RFM was saying, "Please hold on to that 5%. Please hold on to that 5%." I'm like, what? Really? Yeah. What do you want us? They asked, "What do you want us to agree and make the whole show about this?" They asked her that, and they don't get it. They thought, we just have a different opinion. This betrayed everything I thought of these men. They were asking me to turn off a core piece of who I am and reach across the aisle. Ew. Yeah. Then she said, I mean, I think here it is in like a single sentence, 110:49. Can I find it? It's a little hard to.
Defending their right to a different opinion than me. Ugh.
Wait, why is that in quotes?
That's like listen to that sentence. Like this could be like a part of a montage at the beginning of a show.
Defending their right to a different opinion than me. Ugh.
Maven, this is your life. This is you, Maven.
Defending
your satire
right to a different opinion than me. Ugh.
Maven is like a Tatiana McGrath figure, isn't she? Like, she's just the deepest troll in the world. Like this, because she's like, man, I gotta keep I gotta keep going more insane and absurd. Finally, people will notice that I'm just bullshitting them.
Yeah. She says there's no if I'm leaving the show. I'm leaving the show for sure. Then they asked me to sit on it for 24 hours, and that's implying that women are hysterical.
Hey, think about this. How dare you?
Maven, do you know how many times?
I don't think he would have said that to a man. I don't think if a man that he really enjoyed, like he really liked working with, was going to quit, I don't think he would have been like, well, I tell you to sit and think on this, but you're male, so I know that you're not hysterical, so you're making a rational decision.
Yeah. Do you know how many times that's brought up, like in the business world? That I guess everybody that's ever been thought to, they're thinking they must be hysterical.
That's because I learned a long time ago reading a college textbook about interpersonal communication that, like in Japan, in Japanese culture, if you make a proposition to somebody and they say, "Let me sleep on it," that means no, and it's rude to bring it up again.
Well, anyway, I wanted to play this because I think she might have outed RFM's position here because he probably doesn't like to talk about it.
He didn't say it like that, but and RFM said that I moved him from pro-life to neutral. Again, in retrospect, I don't know exactly what that means. That could be. There's so much. That could mean anything. I don't know.
It means he hates you. It means you moved him from he hates you and owns you and thinks that you are an object, all the way to he hates you and wants to own you and thinks you're an object. That's your spectrum, Maven. So, and I think that's outing him, and I think she was kind of every single time she mentions that they like say some political stuff or some sort of stuff, I think she's doing an underhanded thing of trying to smear them politically and out them for like what their positions are in ways that could affect them in that super ideological left-leaning bubble of the left-wing ex-Mormon community, which RFM, if you're still listening, I highly doubt you are, but that's also the bubble. That's the bubble that you're in. There's no room for anybody but that really over there. But at least not every single one of them over there think that you're the very living, walking devil, unless you agree with every single point. Anyway, she gets into some detail of like getting like all confused about why they fell out after that. Like, were they still gonna be friends? She talks about like the final goodbye that she goes and says on the show, which we talked about a little bit. So she gives the goodbye. It's kind of fine, but she's mad at herself that she didn't lose her shit.
Them?
Yeah, you should have lost your shit. Bad.
I really gave up on my principles by not treating these guys like dog shit.
It was bad optics not do it, but I lied to you, the audience, for not losing my shit on everybody there. I'm such a terrible person for that. And then she brings up that later on the Mormon newscast, Mike Lee, there was a topic where RFM had pointed out to Mike Lee had done some stuff about complaining about journalists and abortion and that sort of stuff, and she thought it was an extreme hypocrisy to talk about it. But there was a simulcast going on. I didn't know this was happening. Like Mormonish and Mormon newscast simulcasted on the two channels at the same time. I had no clue that was the case. I mean, I guess I always choose Mormonism live, so I choose the right thing, I guess, but I don't know. But she claims that she made the comments over on the Mormonish simulcast, and she thinks RFM got pissed off at that and refused to talk to her anymore because of choosing the Mormonish podcast to be interacting.
Yeah, she acts like when you listen to her talk about the falling out with RFM, it was like, I don't even know what happened. It's like one day, like I was like, I'm gonna quit, and then the next day I wanted to do the Christmas thing, and then when my friend messaged him, he said, Maven knows what she did. I don't know what happened. I don't know what he could be talking about. I'm like, look, I'm just going to trust you on this. I'm just going to trust that you're being fully representative and that he got pissed off on something that you didn't even understand.
Yeah. And so she talks about how like, oh, are we still going to be friends? This is the part where I say it's kind of like, borderline personality disorder type stuff. I hate you, don't leave me. I hate you, don't leave me type stuff. Like, how are you not coddling me through you telling me that I can't believe you and hate you and think that you hate me and all that sort of stuff. But she finally texted RFM at some point saying, "Are we still friends?" And she saw that there was like no answer. And then she was kind of holding out hope that she'd be on the Christmas Eve show. We watched that Christmas Eve show, and a bunch of different people were invited on. It was a happy, good, fun time. Even if they hadn't had like further falling out, if I were RFM, I don't know that I would dare to put her on that Christmas Eve show to come give us a Christmas Eve abortion rant.
Well, the funny part is that she, like, yeah, I wouldn't for sure. But like, the funny part is the way she explains that is like they had that group chat and he said, anybody who wants to be on the Christmas show, message me by this date. And she didn't. And so like last minute, she says, hey, I'm in for the Christmas show. Yeah. Like, well, wait, you missed the date, buddy.
Yeah. It's just so weird. She says, I still want him in my life despite the betrayal. That's so borderline. That's borderline, you know.
I hate you. Don't leave me.
I'm not a doctor and I can't diagnose at a distance, armchair diagnosis, but yeah, I can. That's borderline.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's one of the nice things about not having being a licensed clinical therapist is I can just say, yeah, Maven very clearly has borderline personality disorder.
Yeah.
100%.
This is something that we can cut out entirely because she gets into a whole lot of things like where RFM and Bill said that she had mistreated a live chatter. And she gets into a lot of detail trying to prove how she had not, in this one specific instance, mistreated a live chatter. But so what about that one instance? Like, we have enough lived experience right here, Maven. We have enough experience. We have a whole meme created about how you are the church lady from Saturday Night at the Ranch because we're there in the live chat of Mormonism Live and Mormon Stories, pounding down anybody who was even slightly ideological different from you and scolding and excoriating any sort of person who thought in any way, shape, or form different, and anybody who thought any little bit different was Cardinellis. And
speaking of, I'm pretty excited for the John DeLynn edition of this 5-hour rant here in like 8 months or so.
Yeah, it's coming. I mean, it's only a matter of time. But she also did the thing that she's now been seen lady is doing to Bill right now, where she said she was supposed to. They had this whole long podcast where she was supposed to initially side with Jen Camp because women over John DeLynn, and then later she's able to go back to him. But first, you must side with the crazy lady who's making a crazy claim because that's the way women are supposed to do it, even though sometimes some claims are obviously crazy right on their face. Like, come on. So I'll cut out the stuff of her trying to get particular on that because we all know we've all had experiences ourselves with Maven and how she acts to any sort of pushback or disagreement in chats that she controls. At 2 hours and 12 minutes, we are now 2 hours into the 3 hour cut. 2 hours and 12 minutes in. Let's see, that's faster now, isn't it, Flip? We're getting there for you, right? We've only got an hour to go, and I actually think the last hour is going to be the shortest bit of it. Man, did I really jump up? Yeah. I have written in great big giant words projections per minute. So there was a whole bunch of those that we can just kind of jump over them because most of them are. Let me just make sure. Yeah. We're going on ahead because we're skipping all those parts out. I do think let's be nice. I do think she had some credible points of just saying, of course, it is a little bit of an issue that should be or could be talked about on the shows. It's just maybe RFM and Bill didn't want to say to her, it's just maybe not you should be talking about them, Maven. There could even be people who lean your way who could do a better job of it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think there's anyone who leans your way that could do a worse job of it.
Yeah.
No.
She says the call was condescending. She just keeps ruminating and coming back to it. It was misogynist. She drops the word misogynist all the time, calling them straight up misogynists and all that sorts of stuff. She says, I don't matter unless a man grants that dream. Guess what, Maven? Like, none of us get to be on Mormonism Live unless they grant it. And not very many get to, I mean, people can call in, but they're not going to be invited on to chime in and rant with their their pet politics. We've been here with our politics all along. We have never once tried to get onto Mormonism Live and force our pet politics onto Mormonism Live, because that is not our place to do it. And yes, those men grant that position because it is their platform.
I'm going to do it next week. Next week, I'm going to call into Mormonism After Dark, and I'll be like, listen, guys, here's why jet fuel can't melt steel beams.
Hey, Maven, can I go on your show and explain my viewpoint?
Yeah,
It'd be censorship if not.
Yeah,
I'm going to go on Maven's show and talk about
you're
a
literally silencing me.
We've platformed you here, you know.
Yeah.
Stop using my gender to just treat me as a human. They cut me off like my family cut me off.
Wait,
who's cutting who where?
Family cut her off?
Yeah, she said that.
How did I miss that?
Although maybe I missed that. Yeah. Well, she said it kind of went like how it went with her family. She didn't say those exact words.
Well, she hates her dad, so.
Yeah.
No.
We know like through all the distance in history, like of course you guys had all these disagreements, and then it gets to the point you can't talk to each other, and then it's all their fault. Like it's all just one-sided, right, man? 2 hours and 12 minutes in, they didn't give me a chance to tell my point of view. I have that in giant colored letters. Like
the whole problem was that you spent so much time giving your point of view,
and they very, very much, many times, gave you an unvetted chance to tell your point of view, and then even still after gave you a chance to tell your point of view. I never get a chance to tell my point of view. Maybe John DeLynn has asked for conservative ex-Mormons to chime in to go on his show, or to maybe have a discussion with John Larson and all that stuff. And we have submitted our names in for the raffle every single time. And it doesn't happen. Like it never happens. We don't expect it to happen. We laugh about it when they put out an email for it.
I've been banned from Mormon Stories group for 5-6 years. It's been a long time.
Oh yeah, it's been a minute for me too.
It's been like 3 years for me. Casey suggested Bill and RFM should invite Maven's dad on the show.
I invite you instead?
No, invite Maven's dad.
Maven's dad. I thought you said me instead. Okay, that would be something, man. There's two sides to every story, and we've only gotten one big fat whopping side.
I mean, that's the thing. Is like I've said it before, that when an ordinary woman makes an accusation against her dad or a man or something like that, I take it at face value and reserve judgment until I have more information. But when a feminist does it, like and that thing's like, so like, it's not outside the realm of possibility that Maven's dad is actually a giant piece of shit. But I think it's extremely likely that he's not. That he's probably a perfectly ordinary guy. He might just be like a Bill or an RFM type guy, and she hates him for the exact same reason she hates Bill and RFM.
No, yeah, I did that same equation. I was like, I'll withhold judgment. Maybe her dad's as big of a piece of shit as she says he is. But then the more you listen to her talk about him, the main story that gets her really pissed off, that she tried to corner me in too, is she asked her dad when they were arguing about abortion. The way she frames it, she asked him, if I needed to get an abortion, would you get me one? And he said, yeah. And she frames that as just utter hypocrisy, like abortion for me, but not for thee. When it affects my dad, he'll get an abortion. And then I listened to her say it more. I listened to her tell that story a few times, and a couple times she lets it slip that what he's saying is like, if you were going to die. Which is the same exact exception he probably carves out for every single woman. So your dad's not being a hypocrite right there. And a lot of times I think you're being delusional and hysterical, but this time I think you're being calculated and intentionally dishonest.
Well, that is the exact position that makes you worse than a rapist. That you believe that if a woman will die unless she can get an abortion, that she should be able to get that abortion. And because you hold that position, but you don't think that a woman should get an abortion for any reason at all without restriction, makes you literally worse than a rapist.
I know, that's what that was the exact same thing she tried to corner me in. She's like, if your wife was going to die if she didn't get an abortion, would you get her one? I was like, well, yeah, that's the same standard I have for all abortions. If it's going to kill you, then it's still tragic and it's sad that you have to kill the fetus, but like it's either one of you or both of you. And so, yeah, I'll do that. And she's like, ha, hypocrite, you would do it for your wife, but not. Oh my God, you. Okay.
Yeah. My general angle with it is kind of just more like the pragmatic one, in the sense of, like, I have atheistic leanings and all that sorts of stuff, monist a bit on like the bodies and souls and all that sorts of deal. I think pragmatically a society must treat its babies and its birthing of babies and its reproductive issues as if every single soul is a soul the second it exists. And that's for the good of the society. She talks about like what's best about society. No, the best of society is treating every single human life as best as you possibly can, from the mindset that this is a souled being. That's it. And would I criminalize women for doing abortions? I wouldn't criminalize it. No, maybe certain doctors for late term abortions.
I mean, I'd really like to ask Maven, are human fetuses even human?
Nothing I can do make myself matter. So maybe like a lot of the stuff here, like I think this, she goes and ruminates on the phone call and all that sorts of stuff. Like I've dealt with some kind of nutty exes in my life. I've talked about it like here and there, one or two.
I've heard a couple stories.
When they get really nuts that it's been cut off and broken off, because I'm an incel, they do not take no for an answer, and you're broken up with them, and you get 9 million text messages a day saying stuff like, I don't matter. I don't matter to you. You hate me. I don't matter to you. You don't even care about you. You don't even think about me. And the way you talk to people, just ruminating. But sometimes I wonder about this, not to psychologize, but every time people say that in this world, that means to psychologize, right? I say not to psychologize or psychoanalyze. Maybe she hasn't had a lot of experience with boyfriends and stuff, and maybe she's kind of taken that a little bit this way, somewhat here, of like she got dumped or something like that. Maybe this is her first experience of a dumping, but she just ruminates more and more and more, talking about, thinking back about it. Man, the tone is patriarchal. They're acting benevolent, but they're correcting me here and there. They're saying that, like, the very first time she talks about them, she's very honest and says they were super nice. They tried to work it out. They tried to get it. They're being friendly. And then she goes back to it and goes back to it. And each time she retells it, they were worse and worse and worse and worse. Which I bet you each time she's told us a story about her dad, it's gotten a little bit more amped up. She brings up 2 ex-Mormon women that she had a discussion with. We know about this. Is this ever getting released, or are they just gonna hold on?
Marty
says she's
releases these when she releases them.
Marty has a life. Marty has a life doing real things that matter. So
not just being a mom and having kids, but also being an engineer.
Yeah, and building a house.
This is
as avowed sexists, we really encourage Marty to exit the workforce and just be barefoot in the kitchen.
Just make more babies.
And so Marty the engineer is pro-life, and Jared's wife, the object, Jared's object is pro-life. I don't know how she came to her own opinions, or did you just give her that opinion?
She told me she was thinking about being pro-choice when I kicked the shit out of her.
Does it make us evil? Are we evil misogynists if we say that, like, it would be a good thing for planet Earth for Marty to have babies, because then it would be more people like Marty on Earth?
Oh yeah, we need more Martys.
That's my general stance on all reproduction. Like, it should be, the good people should keep on going because we need more.
I actually had this conversation with the kind of a lefty ex-Mormon, a deconstructed ex-Mormon. In fact, I kind of feel bad because, like, I'm the one who I was her daddy of deconstruction, and she basically has mostly gone down this whole road. And she's having this whole conversation about, like, oh, I don't think I should ever have kids because I've got health problems and sadness and all this crap. And I'm like, and I said to her, like, come on, no, the world would be better with more people like you. And she's like, no. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, that, what's going on? Like, how the hell did you get to this place? Like, you know, like, that's one thing. Like, when you were a
slippery slope fallacy, undefeated.
Yeah.
It just happens again and again, but I guess it's still a fallacy. So Marty and Morgan, I mean, maybe we've just been a little esoteric about it. Marty and Morgan had a big debate with her, and it's recorded and it's banked.
I know, and it
it's
needs
been
to get
recorded
out,
and banked for a while.
if for nothing else, for the Matryoshka dolls object lesson.
Oh my god, I laugh every time I see those.
I laugh every time I think of it.
I think we might have mentioned it, but there's this great part in the debate, and it was so the debate was Morgan and Maven, and Marty was basically the moderator. She would push back on either of them if she thought necessary.
Yeah, they worked really hard on being nice.
Yeah, Morgan,
because women are just like that.
The first thing that happens when she comes back, she's just like laughing, and she's like, "I think Maven thinks I'm retarded." It's like, what? And that was the first thing she told me about was this Russian nesting doll. If you see in her picture right there, she's got those Russian nesting dolls in the back top left corner. And she's like trying to explain to Morgan that there's, I don't know, it felt like a lesson in object permanence.
I watched it and
she's like, see, this doll right here, you take it, and it's a big doll, and you got a little doll right here. And if you put it in the little doll, it's the same thing now. It's inside there. It's the same thing.
It's
it felt like she's trying to explain pregnancy to a third grader.
No,
she really thought Morgan was stupid.
And she didn't know that Morgan was pregnant at that moment.
That was the funniest part. Yeah, Morgan was pregnant while she was talking to her.
Yeah.
And the weirdest part about it is, if I'm gonna use a cheesy Russian nesting doll object lesson, I think it could more feasibly be used from the pro-life side than the pro-choice side.
Yeah.
If I say,
hey, look, if I split this big one in half, a little one comes out.
Yeah, I'm like, I put it inside. It's still there, right? It's still there. You can't see it, but he's a still person in there, and then he grows out bigger. But still, it's cheesy as hell because, then I'm assuming that this pro-choicer I'm talking to is so retarded that he doesn't understand that there's a fetus inside the belly. Oh, I love it. Yeah, Morgan mentioned that she was very nauseous during that debate.
We didn't even know yet, did we? We didn't even know that she was pregnant.
No, she didn't. She didn't tell you guys until she was done with the. That was her announcement.
And Marty and Morgan aren't just ex-Mos. They are both podcasting ex-Mos. Marty on the Mormon Discussions channel with her podcast, Where Will You Go? And Morgan had a very successful, was it TikTok where she's bigger on, or was it YouTube?
No, it was YouTube. It was My Spiritual Life. It's still up. She just got bored of talking about Mormonism.
And then she kind of got persona non grata just for saying some little, pragmatic or Jordan Peterson-y things,
Oh yeah, Morgan went to Thrive event and gave a very Jordan Peterson self-responsibility talk.
Oh,
everybody else was like, I have an LGBTQIA plus son and daughter and non-binary child, and that's.
She should have just said Brene Brown in between sentences, and then they would okay. Anyway, she says that they still just defend the institution. No, those two do not defend that particular institution. The institution of marriage, maybe, but I don't know exactly what she's talking about. But she says they both still have internalized Mormonism. And
oh, hey, wait, before we go on, Starbase Call-Out brings up a good point. Now's a good time to remind you guys to smash that like and subscribe button.
And if you haven't yet, have you purchased any of the underwears? It's called a wiener separator underwear.
Just use wiener separator.
Use wiener separator underwear if you have one of those hateful wieners. Wiener separator underwear promo code Damocles of Dicks. What was that?
Dick of Damocles.
Dick of Damocles. I said it backwards.
Oh, that's one of the funniest phrases ever uttered on this podcast.
Flip's got that marketing mentality. We gotta make a shirt of that one, Dick of Damocles. Like I said,
We gotta beg for super chats too. That's what Starbase Collabs.
I don't think we can do that yet until we're like 500. And I also can't do shorts until we're at 500 subscribers. And so once this is 500 subscribers, we can put Dick of Damocles. It'll just be like 500 shorts in a row. Dick of Damocles.
Because we always promised that we'll never take money for this. And if we ever got to the point where we could get super chats and people gave us super chats, I would say we have a rule that they all just immediately get donated to the church mission fund.
I was going to say the Trevor Project.
Oh no.
Yeah. If you give us money, we're just going to give it right to the church.
To the Temple Spire Fund. And we'll call it the Dick of Damocles Temple Spire Fund. We want it hanging up there above every town to be seen as the Dick of Damocles, hanging over the heads of every woman to oppress them into having more babies.
Fuck.
That's how you after dark. Anyway,
Caddy.
It says they don't grasp it. They're just Mormon in the brain. Defend the institution or Marty and Morgan are so much like infinitely more wise. Some of this, like, you just be like, it's kind of funny because it's almost kind of seems like a teenage kid talking to their moms or something like that.
It really did. Like, it was kind of unfair.
Yeah. She says to something about that, like Bill says to her, like, wouldn't I be able to he does platform Marty, but guess what issue Marty is able to have like a whole podcast about and doesn't really bring this thing up. I don't know if she's talking about abortion issues. Maybe she has. But I know it's not like a center of her whole entire show. But that just kind of proves that she does get upset. Like, he says that I should have to platform them too. Shouldn't I have to platform them? Okay, so right there, she's immediately saying the same thing that donors that supposedly on the other side aren't allowed to say. Like, they're not allowed to platform that. Like, you're the same person. Like, you want to censor people's political opinions. What if they did it in a cartoon? Like, if they did a real on the nose shitty cartoon, would you be upset for them then? Like a great big giant Bill Reel saying, "No, you cannot talk about abortion," and them standing there, "Nee." And I guess like Bagley signs like "Sad women can't talk about politics." Good comics, man. I mean, this is just as good as the Dick of Damocles stuff. But that just proves that she would have a conniption fit if she did platform them. Which, once again, Bill and RFM are right. I think for what their show is, I think for what their show has been in general, occasionally go on those subjects, but if they go into it farther, it's been Bill on his own separate channel of like his newly awakened thing or whatever. Like, Mormonism Live really does do a much better job than Mormon Stories at being pretty politically neutral. Sometimes, no, of course, they go off. It's going to lean a direction a little bit, but they're nowhere near as bad as Mormon Stories. And I even like comment on something else, like Bill Reel said that I am welcome to comment on there, like whenever, and he knew about it. And I think RFM also told me that on another show. And I don't think that those two are aware at all of how censorious Maven was being,
No,
yeah, I don't think
that's you can tell that by what like Bill's response to Flips.
Well, and she makes them look like fools on the air a couple times because like they were talking about how Jacob might censor people. And I'm like, you guys censor, like Jacob does some censoring. He doesn't do zero, but there's more talk going on over there.
I got my beef with Jacob and censorship. He censored me lots of times.
Yeah, it's not a zero over there, but for what Maven censors, like Jacob wins. Jacob's ahead of Maven on censorship.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
But I don't think Bill and RFM ever would have been that way, and they kind of got made to be look a little bit of fools because they didn't realize how hard one of their mods was censoring stuff.
Yeah. No, that thing is like Bill's like, well, tell me the people who were censored, and I'm like, okay, look, there's me and everyone I know, and I'm just guessing dozens and dozens of other people because she was so trigger happy with that block button.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't a handful of people. It was literally anybody who pushed back on her.
Yeah. And so she brings back up the WAPO narcissist lady and says, "Oh, I'm just like her. They forced us out. They forced us out for our journalistic integrity, our freedom of expression integrity, and they did it for money. It's for money. They're doing this for money, and they thought I'd censor myself. Ha ha ha."
By the way, like, to his credit, Bill's pretty transparent about the money thing.
Oh yeah,
like he's. I mean,
As
he
far
just
as, like-
mentioned like today. I think that like I quit my. Did he sell his pawn shop or? I don't know. Like,
yeah, he's out of it somehow. I
Bill
don't
had
know.
a pawn shop?
Yeah, that's what he did for his whole life.
Wait, really?
That was his job. That was his money job. Yeah.
But wait, is there any pawn shop on Earth that turns a profit that doesn't sell fenced goods?
He'll talk a little bit about how they have to do some other stuff and finagle money and stuff.
I remember when
he wasn't a pawn shop owner; he was a pawn shop like manager.
Oh, because I just remember it made me so crazy when I got burgled, and they stole my guitars, and I went to the police department and I was talking to the detective, and they themselves told me, it's like, hey, here's the thing, wait 30 days. And then go look at all the pawn shops. And I'm like, well, don't you guys do that? But then the other thing was that he named a couple of specific guitar shops in town. He's like,
that he knew were the ones.
Yeah. He's like, oh yeah, go check out those guys. They sell stolen stuff all the time. And I'm just like, shouldn't you do that? Like, this is the thing, why don't you go down there right now and check all the serial numbers?
That's one of the things that drives me the biggest nuts. Like I told you guys the other day, I was walking my dog in Liberty Park and I was like, sweet molasses, all the homeless people here. But you come across like a group of them and there's 25 bikes sitting right there. And you're like, where's the cops? Like, come on.
Yeah,
like,
no, the homeless people, I see downtown homeless people walking down the street with bike tires, with bike wheels, I mean, all the time, or pushing 2 bikes down the street. It's like, hey, one of those is not yours.
Making that 2-tier system. Like Corolla and Victor Davis Hanson have talked about this so much in California about like how there's people who are insanely drugged out on the street with stolen bikes right in front of them, but they'll stop you because you have an open container and give you some citation or something like that because they'll get money out of you.
The actual Justice Warrior had a thing about Oakland, Chinatown, where they are fining the business owners for not painting over graffiti when they refuse to arrest or prosecute the people doing the graffiti.
Who just do it again.
Yeah, and they're interviewing this Chinese lady who runs a market in Oakland, one of the only businesses like in this shitty neighborhood, and like they even talk about how like the inspectors come and say, hey, you have to clean up this graffiti or you're in trouble. So they go buy a bunch of paint. They paint over everything, and then the graffiti people come back that day, spray paint more graffiti, and then the inspectors come back and say, hey, you didn't clean up the graffiti. Here's your fine. And like they have to pay it. Like, and yeah, it's like it's just ridiculous. Adam Carolla talks. I mean,
Carolla's gone into a lot lately, and Victor Davis Hanson too, just talking about all the people selling fruit, and they don't have to do any sort of food checks and all that sort of stuff. But if you want to go open a restaurant there, and it just gets so lopsided.
Well, like I guess one of the producers of The Simpsons back in the day.
Had to have his tree house taken down.
He built a replica of the famous Simpsons treehouse, and they made it take him down, even though it was hurting absolutely no one.
It's been up for 25 years.
Yeah. And then,
there's an awesome treehouse. Look up the Simpsons treehouse, and they had to take it down just like a month ago.
But meanwhile, down the street from him, there's a literal shanty town of homeless people.
Yep.
Hey, on in that the Quaker group chat, Christopher just sent a YouTube video. Some of the chatters were talking about. TPP said there's a famous video of Bill Reel saving a baby falling off a pawn shop tabletop.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, and then Christopher sent it in the. Oh, that must be Christopher. You keep changing your name, Christopher. I don't know.
Here's the Simpsons. Here's the Simpsons treehouse, real quick. While I'll pull that up if you want me to. That got torn down, and there's a whole homeless encampment just down the street. I remember I was downtown Salt Lake. I used to have my band studio used to be right on that park there on 4th and 4th.
Pioneer Park, yeah.
Yeah, Pioneer Park, and there was someone was out there, and I'd get pulled over all the time down there because I was in a car, and they assumed I must be there because this is one of the things they keep talking about, like the blacks or Trevor Noah talked about how many times he's been pulled over in 5 years. I'm like, I got that beat in 2 months. Trevor Noah, they pulled me over every time I went down there because they thought I was there to buy drugs. That's just for my band practice. And every single time I would look at them, I started getting lippy a little bit with the cops. I feel bad that I did, but I'd be like, look at those bikes. Look at all those bikes over there. And you guys are pulling me over they never gave me tickets, but they were just trying to see if I was there to buy drugs. But they're not going to get money out of those guys at the bikes. But
Bill Reel was in the right place at the right time. As a father of 4 kids himself, he knows they always need a watchful eye looking out for them.
I was going to go head first into the concrete.
This is a surveillance video from Family Pawn in Hurricane. You can see 2 women in the store shopping for a gun. They place a child on the counter. That's when things go wrong.
I saw the baby just bob just enough to show me that it was barely holding itself up, and I just ran towards it.
That is Bill Reel, the store's manager.
I reacted probably within like an eighth of a second.
Bill is the man in the video who noticed
Goosebumps.
the baby. The father of 4 swoops in to save the day.
4-foot fall going headfirst into the concrete. There is no doubt that would have been at least a serious injury, if not some brain injury as well.
Instead, the customers bought the gun
and sued.
I was gonna say they went home. No, like the part that they don't tell is that they paid the baby for the gun. That was the deal.
That's what they traded as collateral.
Yeah.
I don't know, Bill.
He just
Saving a
paid me for a
saving a baby, awfully pro-life of you. I see why Maven hates you now.
Right after that, Bill goes like, "Well, it's a female baby, so just the gun. No carrying case and no strap. Just the gun."
You're lucky you weren't in danger, 4 months ago, or else I wouldn't have given a shit.
I controlled the woman's life into having to care for this from now on. Oh. He could have also just gone back in time with Democrat man and aborted that baby. Either way, he would have been a hero.
Yeah, Charles mentioned Bill Reel selling guns. Based.
This is the little secret that we've been noticing, and not to back Maven up here because she's trying to use it to guilt him by association. But Bill Reel does have some based views and reviews. He did say the stuff of he thinks Jordan Peterson's right on a lot of stuff, and that's because he actually took time to listen to him. But he had kind of a nuanced take. I can't say the word. A nuanced take on tariffs. He wrote kind of big long thing on tariffs, and that's one of the things that she was talking about.
Well, I like that whole post when he's just saying, when he's talking about the Doge's allegations, and he's just literally saying like, what if this is true? What if? And just the pushback he gets for just even floating the what if.
I respect that he's daring to take some of those nowadays, though. But I also don't think he has to do that stuff on Mormonism Live or anything like that. It's fine. He goes and does it on the other channels or something like that. But if Mormonism Live does do something that does lean political, it is going to be the queer activist that they had on a few weeks ago. But they just thought it was gay, and then they kind of revealed in that episode they didn't know the difference between gay and queer, and that queer is a political identity. But anyway, they kind of didn't know that. I don't care that they don't think it's hateful. Jacob Hansen doesn't think he's hateful. None of them think they're hateful and bigoted. But I can show them objectively with data that it's hateful. All right, let's see it. Why don't they trust me that I'm right? Why is it my fault when men refuse to listen? It costs men nothing to be wrong about this. Why won't men care? And to listen, like she even admitted herself earlier that RFM changed his perceptions from listening to her somewhat. That's listening, Maven. That's some listening. It's just not enough for you.
Yeah, it's not all the way, so it's nothing.
So then we could probably breeze past this about talking about reconciliation and can there be reconciliation, and say it's burnt, the bridge is burnt, but why is it on me? Don't ask me to fix it. Asking me to fix it could be misogyny. You got to
Name
trust
one
me when I
thing.
describe
Name
this.
one thing that isn't misogyny. Like one thing short of agreeing and cucking for you 100%.
Yeah, that
Is
reminds
catching
me of.
a little baby girl from falling off a counter, is that a
No, we
misogynist?
already proved that. We already critical analyzed that.
That's right.
We already did critical theory to that. We already said it's misogyny because of all the things. They need a Sarkeesian quote of it's all
racism, it's all sexism, it's all homophobia, and you have to call it out.
Yeah. I wonder if somebody has that in a short quote. Nope, it's all. Nope, here it is.
Everything is sexist. Everything is racist. Everything is homophobic, and you have to point it all out. Everything is sexist. Everything is racist. Everything is homophobic, and you have to point it all out.
Activism.
That's a duper's delight smile right there.
Yep, duper's delight. That is the duper's delight, folks. Your desire to repair it is for you, not me. This is my critical thinking. She talks more. She kind of like associates them with bad based thoughts a little bit, which we just did too. Sorry, guys. They don't want to admit that they're in the middle, and I won't support them. And I maybe graciously, because sometimes even more Manichaean people like this will say, we must all cancel them and go on like a full cancel campaign. And like, if you're friends with them, you can't be friends with me. But I think she insinuates that a little bit. So I won't support them. And where's the cavalry? Where's all the knights? Where's all the men? They're not coming. And Ex-Mojo pops up and goes, my lady, please, I am here to support you. And, right after popping up on their show to give himself his own little plugs.
Although,
like,
to his
everybody
credit,
makes sure to get their own plugs on their shows. Like, pop up your own plugs, but then line up in line, grab a torch when it's time to grab a torch.
To his credit, though, I'm usually not shocked. Like, I'm usually not surprised at all by the stances that a lot of these really loud people have. I was actually a little bit surprised that Ex-Mojo was like one of the only people that didn't cuck for Michelle Stone.
Yeah. Oh, that was one of the things we brought up later. She was calling the thing that just doesn't make sense, that Brian Hales is the bigot for standing by that. No, I think Joseph Smith is a polygamist, and Michelle Stone gets a free pass at being an apologist of saying no, he's an innocent baby.
Look, I have been a long-standing, like, joking critic of Brian Hales, but I've never seen anything to suggest he's misogynist, right? Like,
but
he's a fucking dork, and he draws the most batshit conclusions from his admittedly like autistically researched stances, but he's not a bigot, or he hasn't said anything that would indicate that. Maybe he is.
And don't the people who want to hold Joseph's feet to the fire that he was a misogynistic sexer, that they have somebody inside the church who's standing by that stance that he did do all the polygamy, but no, you're supposed to side with Michelle Stone who wants to apologize it away, or you're a hateful, impotent bigot? Like, make it make sense for me, Maven. Make it make sense. She benighted them as having the same douchebag apologetics of the people that they talk about. They have the same douchebag apologetics of Jacob Hansen, the same douchebag positions of Ward Radio.
Right, and of course, the douchebag apologist podcast bros, right? I've named them several times. We all know who they are, right? But I've come to believe that, privately, besides just how they treated me on this particular issue, I think they have more in common in terms of supporting people and policies that are hurting people right now, including myself. I do know that Bill and RFM hold a couple of opinions in common with those guys that they know would be unpopular with the majority of their audience, and I'm starting to suspect that there's a lot more, way more than I'm even currently aware of. And part of that, like going back to the letter that I read over there over the phone when I resigned, one of
We heard on Culture Show the other week that under their masks they're as bad as Lori Vallow. So maybe Bill Hill and RFM are that bad too.
That was insane. That's Megan Connor, the cousin of Lori Vallow, being like, I might sound crazy saying this, you do, but like I would compare Jacob Hansen and Cardinellis to Lori Vallow. What?
Yeah. So if Bill and RFM share their views, I guess they share the Lori Vallow views.
Remember,
And Maven was sitting right there nodding her head with that.
one of the first things that I had read or said was something about that I felt that they both weren't being as transparent with me as they used to be. And I wonder, I think if
They've
that's
got
the
a secret Nazi thoughts.
reason, if that was the feeling, that was where the gut feeling was starting to come in, that just something feels different here. Something is not like.
Once again, folks, Duper's delight. Duper's delight. That is, watch that smile. That is a Duper's delight.
Like it used to be. And I don't know when or how a change happened, if there was, because that's something I've been wondering a lot. Like, have they always been like this?
Look, why is that all being said with like a shit-eating smile? Like that is Duper's delight.
Oh yeah.
Or have they changed somewhere in the middle, like from who they were and who I thought they were when I met them to how I view them now? And I know some people will claim they've always been like this, and that maybe I just kind of had, my eyes half closed in the first place. But I do think they're not the same people that I met those 3 years ago or so. I think, again, I don't know how or what changed, but this could be. I do think they consume a lot of the same media as like Ward Radio and Jacob Hansen might. I think they might like follow similar problematic influencers, especially ones known for misogyny and being kind of an early gateways to the alt-right pipeline.
That's got to be repeated.
Kind of an early gateways to the alt-right pipeline.
Hear that, RFM? Welcome to the alt-right pipeline.
United.
It's just saying, like, oh, they got into too much anti-material.
I know.
They've been into the anti stuff, and it's corrupted them.
Early gateways to the alt-right pipeline. Like me, I was listening to the Joe Rogan and Dave Smith podcast, and people are like, there's some anti-Semitism in here, and I'm like, I stopped and I was like, listen, I'm like, man, now I think I'm sympathizing with the wrong side. How did this start? And I started rewinding. I'm like, where did this start? How did I go down? How did the algorithms take me here? Sear Stoner warned me of this. Sear Stoner warned me of this. How did this algorithm take me here? And I go all the way back, and I realized it was the day I clicked on Mormonism Live. Mormonism Live was the gateway. It was the Stargate gateway that sent me right down that tube, all the way down to wondering if Israel is correct in bombing Gaza.
Risto brought up a good point. We didn't get boosted. we didn't get a COVID booster, so it made us turn alt-right.
Oh, that's right, too. Yeah. Is that like one of the things?
Yeah, we don't sound as vaccinated as Maven does.
Is that one of the ways like you get injected with an ideology through non-injection?
See, I thought it was just if your mom smoked when she was pregnant, that's how you end up alt-right.
Let's listen to that again, folks, because Maven, if you listen to yourself right here, like you should stop and go, what am I talking about? And just like snap out. And then your hair just magically changes color back to its normal color, like right then. And you're like, imagine like that slowly happening right here.
Misogyny and being kind of an early gateways to the alt-right pipeline. And I think it's starting to cause confusion.
Be careful with your kids. Have you seen adolescents? Have you seen adolescents? Have you seen what's happening to young boys these days? The manosphere, man.
All the stabbing epidemic in the UK.
Andrew Tate, yeah. I do think that they're probably Andrew Tate acolytes. Like I can tell. Like they probably listen to some of the same Andrew Tate that Jacob Hansen listens to, even though he's condemned Andrew Tate multiple times. But all right, pipeline folks, be careful. Tackle your kids that you shouldn't have let be born. Like they shouldn't be there in the first place. But if they're going to be there, at least not let them listen to Mormonism Live and become alt-right bigots.
Mitchell Clark says, I caught my kid watching Ben Shapiro. What do I do?
Oh, no, all right.
Well, your kid hates Palestinians, so he supports genocide. So there you go.
but he goes all the way down that pipeline and still somehow supports Hitler. Like you listen to Shapiro, and next thing you know, Hitler. You love the Hitler.
With some of their audience, because I'm seeing
audience capture, man. Anyway, we are getting dangerously close to this, to where I did not think that we would get, but we pumped through it. 252.55. She says the thing that I already brought up earlier, that that she thinks that they used her for clout. They used.
Yeah, that was funny.
No way.
Yeah, like
their assumptions of shared values are starting to be challenged, and they're as confused as I was. And I guess this is the part where I'll say, like, I think it started happening a lot earlier than I realized. And this is just based on the timing. I won't be sharing it because it's a post from a private group, but it's from well over a year ago when I was still on the show. Someone had posted asking if Bill and RFM were really LGBTQ allies or not. Someone had commented on the post that they trust Maven. She wouldn't work with them if they weren't. She wouldn't tolerate that. Before
she was their beard.
Before that, I had always seen myself as riding the coattails of Bill and RFM's.
She was riding their coattails. No, it was the opposite.
It turns out
reputations and influence. You know, obviously, like they're the main heroes, and I'm the little spunky sidekick that occasionally shows up. That comment was the first time it occurred to me that they could be benefiting from association with me on the strength of my reputation, rather than vice versa.
I don't know if like that's like more offensive, like the claim that they needed to use her like that, or the arrogance of it, like the sheer arrogance of the clout she carries, or something like that. You know, how many people watched that show and were even kind of like unaware that she was really there very much, you know, before.
Well, near the end, she said, I mean, we covered that episode where they were interviewing that rabbi, and she just kept having to jump in to like chastise their guest. And like, you pretty aware
That's
she's
right.
there at that point.
That's right. She kept. That is right. I forgot about that episode. That rabbi was on, and she kept trying to take him down. Anyway, then she gets into the damseling, saying she's so femcel black-pilled on men. She didn't use those words, but yes, she did. The cavalry isn't coming.
She said she knows she can't trust men anymore, and then she says, that doesn't mean I don't hate men. I just can't trust them."
Yeah.
Like the Jews. Like, I don't hate Jews. It's just I know he can't trust the shifty Jews.
Yeah. She keeps saying
I just thought of Star Trek 6 when Kirk goes, "I've never trusted Klingons, and I never will."
Star Trek? What is that?
You haven't seen Star Trek? It's
Star Trek?
awesome.
Yeah,
it's that awesome. Yeah, it's that awesome J.J. Abrams.
Where they like fight in space, fast fighting. Yeah,
the gay elf and the black lady kissed.
Feminist men just always shrug and say it's okay. That's what Maven, like you're right in a wrong way. Like, you can't trust feminist men. That is true. But
RFM said Rabbi Joe was very upset by that for a long time afterward.
Oh my goodness.
Oh
no, I bet that it would be a difficult thing to deal with. Somebody who butts in and just starts shitting on your guests that you have.
Yeah, I watched that whole episode and was watching, like, why does she keep doing that? And they kind of like nudge her off, like, okay, yeah, we got it.
She wanted it to turn into a Mormon Stories Rod Meldrum style struggle session.
And you know what? RFM razzes that rabbi well enough himself, and it's funny when he does it. It is lighthearted and a funny way to do it. Like, he razzes him on his positions like well enough. He doesn't need Maven to come in and scold him. You know, all that made her super sad. She's not choosing these feelings. And then, of course, what else to do now but pump her channel? Time to pump her channel up, and she does that for a few minutes. And one of the things, I mean, this is almost like the last thing that I have listed that she says she wants to do with her channel is, let me see if I can find it. Pretty close. Yeah.
Just all of it. And even just actionable things people can do. I've had a lot of people ask me and want to know, what can I do, especially men. I want to help, but I don't know how, or I don't know what to do. And I would love personal stories of activism as well. What are you doing now? What people have done in the past, things that can give hope and a sense of pride and determination to see this fight through and fight the feelings of hopelessness and inactivity it causes sometimes. I also want to cover international stories. I know this is getting sounding so broad and so big, but
I didn't have. I thought I had someone that she said she thinks that she can help men, but maybe I misunderstood that one. But I mean, that's about it. She just says what the whole thing is. Oh, and I forgot to say that she did not do any of this to deliberately hurt them.
Why did you make me do this?
Yeah, none of this was to deliberately harm.
That's what I say.
They were just very, very cruel.
That's what I say to my wife every time I kick her ass because she burnt the cookies or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, why did you make me do this?
Yeah. She's gotta learn that, Anyway, I'm gonna go to some of the. That's through the whole thing, and then just like some of the comments, Bill made his long response to her. I don't know if we want to pull that up or not, but go ahead.
I've been waiting the whole time to make this point. So, I don't know, 15 years ago, for Halloween, because I don't normally dress up for Halloween, but I had a girlfriend at the time. She wanted to dress up for Halloween. And so the only thing, I don't know how it came up, but we decided that I was going to be a sister missionary. and so we went to the DI to shop for a dress that would fit me. And I swear to God, it's that dress.
No, really?
I'm not kidding. It was something very, very much like that. And she even did my makeup. The only thing that's different is I had better hair.
Did you see, you remember that thirsty guy in her comments mentioning that she's asexual? He's like, damn, Maven, you really don't ever see yourself having sex?
Yeah. This meme came up and it seemed apropos. Women see themselves as perpetually oppressed because they only compare themselves to high status men, and they don't even see the low status men as human at all. And that's largely Maven here. She should be on the level and be given the platform. She doesn't have to earn it through meritocracy. She doesn't have to get there. She doesn't have to show all the history and do the endless amounts of podcasts and all the different truth claims things. I mean, these the Mormonism live episode this Wednesday, where they brought on Dan Vogel to take on Michelle Stone's claims, was something I've been waiting for. You know what I mean? That's the type of stuff in ex-Mormonism that I've always liked and loved. And even Mormons should listen to that one, because it makes the case that they are also making people like Jacob Hansen. Dan Vogel excoriates Michelle Stone's takes on if Joseph Smith was a polygamist or not, and they just take it down. It was such a great episode, the stuff that I love. No, don't do 10 years of that, Maven, or anything like that first, or after having been in the church and in the systems for 10 years, building up your credentials on one side of it, and then doing it all over on the other side, and then compare yourself to if you're suddenly given the exact same platform as those guys who worked up to that. Don't even think about we got our little channel here of 300 people. That's about where you should be, really. If you're going to be honest about it, you're a startup, you have fringe political ideas and opinions. That's where you should be. Meritocratically, that's where you should be and should have been. And you were boosted by them, and you were very, very angry that you're not just given their jobs, and that they didn't just give them to you. And that's one of the problems of that whole activistic movement. What makes you happy? Being the victim. This is another person who Bill Real has put on his channel and on his platform to give a thing, and she's fully backing up Maven all the way and posting things like this. Often this is behavior seen in men manipulating women to blame women, calling them hysterical, too emotional, hormonal when men react. It is often seen as masculine projection mode. Just a thought. Manipulation is when they blame you for your reaction to their toxic behavior, but never even discuss the disrespect that triggered you. And there's good old Divas who many, many times made sure to throw himself onto the Mormon expression, or the Mormon discussion show, the Mormonism Live and the Mormonism After Dark, calling in to get plugs for his channel, which is the only reason he's calling into those shows. They're just ready to throw them under the bus the same.
Just the incredible irony that her name is Steelman.
I know. I thought that was a joke when I was arguing with her in the comments.
She never answered me. I even thought about poking at her again about it, but because she was defending Maven, and I asked her straight up, it's like, okay, do you agree with Maven that Bill and RFM are racist misogynists that literally deny that Maven is even a human? She never answered, but I don't know. That's the other thing. Is like, did you know it was only women that popped up to say, "Hey, Bill, why are you talking about this?"
Here's her channel. She became there's
a wild amount of
patriarchy just a few days ago, and on Bill Real's platform that he built and created, that he put her up for, and there she is, toss him under the bus. What's that?
She became visible. That's the most obnoxious.
I know.
Title.
There was a wild amount of commenters on his response to her that were telling him, like, this really should be private. You should.
To Bill?
Bill. You don't say.
And there was a few people, like, I think there was a few of them that didn't know about her video. But he explains that she did a video in the post, right? And even after I was like, no, she did 5 hours smearing him and calling him a sexist, which is one of the, like, it's one of the most damning things you can say about somebody online discourse, right? And they're like, well, I still think this should have been a private email. I'm like, okay, well, do you think that Maven's should have also been a private email?
Yeah.
And then no response to that.
Yeah.
So he posted this in the comments, so I don't think it's telling tales out of school to show his Facebook post. But what were you saying, Flip?
Oh, just that.
Do you want to read that, Jared? My voice is.
I got it. Maven, I've taken the time to watch your recent video and want to start by acknowledging how much pain, passion, and integrity you brought forward. It's clear how deeply you care about reproductive justice and calling out systems that restrict bodily autonomy. Your personal experience and your commitment to advocacy are powerful, and I don't question your heart or your intention. That said,
I do.
Yeah. I totally. Come on, Bill. That said, I'd like to offer some clarification from my perspective, not to diminish your experience, but to share more fully where I was coming from and what shaped the decisions I made.
You got to give him some lenience that that's just a template. Like, if you're going to respond to
for sure
a torch march of women coming at you, that's the template.
Torch from a friend too. Yeah. Like, I understand he's her friend, so he's going to be a lot nicer to her than I am. But that said, I'd like to offer some clarification from. Oh, I just said that. From my point of view, this was never about silencing abortion as a topic. I've spoken about it on the podcast before and absolutely believe it intersects with Mormon culture, especially around purity culture, control, and women's agency. But I also experience abortion as a uniquely complex issue, and I've chosen to approach it differently than I do with topics like BIPOC and LGBTQIA+ rights. Also, fuck you for making me say BICOC.
Both of those. I mean, I get like a classically liberal take on racism, not the whole BIPOC universe of Kendyism that comes out of that. Yeah. But the LGB issues, think a little bit harder. You've had discussions with Jonathan Streeter and others about the TQIA part.
Yeah, no, you had a pretty good discussion with Jonathan.
Yeah.
Here's why. When we speak about racial injustice or queer rights within Mormonism, we're usually speaking about the systemic harm done to a single group. With abortion, the conversation often brings in the moral weight and lived experience of two human beings, the pregnant person and the potential life they carry. You know, one of the funny parts of this is I was reading some of the comments on this on Reddit, and one of the wokies in there, was like, and he says pregnant person, he can't even say woman. He's using your rules, you bitch. What are you talking about? This is a lesson to you, Bill. You cannot win with these people because they don't want you to win.
Heads I win, tails you lose.
Yeah, okay. I lost where I was. Where was it?
All right, put it at the top.
Okay. With abortion, the conversation brings in the moral weight of the lived experience of two human beings, the pregnant person and the potential life they carry. That makes it a morally layered conversation, and one I feel requires careful language and balance, especially in a space where people hold diverse views.
including those still healing from rigid ideologies. Some ex-Mormons, including a few in the chat that night, are still pro-life because they see the value of the innocent child as more of a priority than a female who made an active choice to have sex, cases outside rape or other non-consensual sexuality. Ooh, no, that's where you're wrong, Bill. You're wrong because it's not that they're still pro-life because they have an active belief. They're still pro-life because they haven't yet deconstructed enough.
RFM says that he hopes this is AI. I don't think Bill did this with AI, but I do have to show you one AI thing while I know you're watching.
With blue hair and wait a second. You took a woman with blue hair and actually let her commandeer the microphone on your podcast. I thought you were smarter than that.
You in the middle of saying something? Just because while Bill's here, just in case it wasn't already clear. So Bill or RFM, I mean. So LGB, that's sexual preference and nothing else. That's whatever. LGB is LGB. TQ is a revolutionary political dogma that aims to dismantle Western civilization by attacking its norms.
And Shakespeare.
And Shakespeare. Like, just to be very, very clear about that. LGB and also
queering is a verb and it's eternal. It's eternal.
Queer activism has
being accepted is not the idea. Queering forever is the idea.
They have entirely hijacked the LGB movement to their own purposes.
All right, so now I see when you heard me say something along the lines of abortion isn't a Mormon issue, it may have sounded dismissive. What I intended to mean is one could leave Mormonism and religion, for that matter, and still value the life of an innocent unborn baby as a higher priority than the female having a consensual sexual act and getting pregnant. And while I would disagree that as I am myself pro-choice, no, you're not really pro-choice, I can see the logic and rationale for one who falls the other way. This is different than other issues where Mormonism's bullshit responses ignore logic and involve special pleading. That doesn't mean it's irrelevant. It just means that I've chosen to hold it differently in the framework of the show. The concerns I raise with you weren't about your views. They were about the tone and intensity with which they were presented as you reacted to people in the chat who were pro-life, insinuating that they must in fact be wrong, and you were relentless. Causing them to voice hurt as your mode of engagement. I never wanted our chat to be an unsafe place for doubters or those who have left and where am I?
And that day,
for some, it was. The episode in question caught me off guard, and I felt the emotional charge of the conversation overshadowed the opportunity for thoughtful engagement. It's not that your emotion isn't valid, it's that the way it came through didn't align with how I try to hold difficult conversations on my platform. In spite of the amount of
invalid, by the way.
It is. Oh, it's totally invalid.
It's invalid.
In spite of the amount
of very kind.
In spite of the amount of support you received in the comment section of that episode. That was a core issue for me, not the content, but the delivery. You were berating our supporters in the chat, and at least 2 people had emailed me the following day considering the end of their donations because they felt you were imposing a view, not allowing any other perspective.
Yep.
They're totally right. I also acknowledge that the way I communicated that boundary may not have been clear enough. In hindsight,
it was.
Yeah, it totally was. You're really babying her, but like, I get it. She's your friend. I wish I had been more direct and more tender. No, that's actually the worst thing you can do for Maven is being more tender. The moments that followed, including our final conversations, left too many things unspoken. That's something I want to take responsibility for. At the same time, when the following week's episode with you giving a farewell, you engaged at the audience again in the same way, imposing a pro-choice view that deemed all disagreement as a wrong stance. And with having already discussed boundaries around it, I felt the trust in our working relationship begin to erode. I felt like a line was crossed, not necessarily out of malice, but in a way that made continued collaboration feel unsafe for me.
Yeah. Here's
A
Risto.
valiant effort.
Risto in the comments section, who later got shadow banned by her, says, I've yet to see you express a stillman case of the other side, one that I can relate to. It says, I am as interested in stillmanning pro-life as I am for white supremacy. It requires dishonesty on my part. And there's something I pulled from ChatGPT asking about, do bans increase abortions? And it's given the answer in the middle. It may fail to reduce abortions overall, but she constantly cites this as something that's unassailably true. She has the data.
Well, didn't we pull up the data that shows there was twice as many abortions in 1980 than in 2020?
Mm-hmm.
So that right there just rips the pants off of that as a claim.
Yeah. There's Flip Johnson saying, I'm confused. You're saying it's wrong to silence people. You, the queen of silencing the exmosphere. Interesting.
Yeah.
There's me asking, this was shadow banned. I couldn't post it. I mean, it's what it's like on Mormon Stories or anything. Just say, Maven, could it ever be at all that it's just maybe perhaps used slightly excessively Manichaean and not all that extra baggage? Of course, no responses to it. Flip mentioned to Bill that there's been people banned and blocked on the channel and stuff like that. Then Jared just trying to ask people the Socratic question. Do you think this issue bothered Real and RFM specifically because Maven is a woman? Do you believe that? Like, you want to ask how many women in the audience do you genuinely believe that Bill and RFM said this woman, gosh, this woman shouldn't be saying these woman things?
This non-human woman.
Yeah. Do you think they would have reacted differently to the exact same approach if it came from the mouth of a male? And some people back you up on that.
Yeah, I got RFM's lady friend. I don't know if she's a wife.
Oh, is that yeah.
Yeah, she's.
There's no, like, come on, like, and any women in the audience sitting there credulously believing that, like the way that she says, I think secretly RFM and Bill have these secret hatred. Like, no, every single one who believes that of them were the ones harboring that secret hatred the whole time.
Weird type.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I like this meme, and of course posted by a woman on some like feminist page. Some woman posting, when someone accuses me of being a feminist, but I literally never claimed men were equal to women. And yeah, that's something Flip's been banging on for a long time. Here's some of the stuff, because forever we were talking about how you get banned off of Mormon Stories, Uncensored LDS Mormon Topics, all the different Facebook places. If you put anything political in there that faces any sort of certain direction, you get blocked or banned off the page, you get slapped, all that sorts of stuff. We've been excommunicated from many of those places. They're sitting there putting stuff about this, about conservative women in there. If you see a blonde white woman wearing a cross on Fox News, you know you're about to hear the most anti-Jesus shit you've ever heard in your life. And somebody right under that immediately posting, stick a dildo in her mouth and shut her up.
Yeah, what the hell is that? That guy must have blocked me because I can't see that comment.
Yeah, but you just see stuff like that all day long on those things everywhere, and you know nothing happens to them. But you just come in and say, "Hey, I'm kind of a bit of a pro-lifer. That's the way I angle my stuff." You get blocked off of stuff. And that's how it's been going. It's gotten ever since stuff slightly, because you can kind of feel like we're a little bit in the age of we're getting past the woke getting put away a little bit. Like there's a little bit more freedom for people to push back or post other things in those places. But no, for 4 or 5 years, this was ex-Mormon land. Ex-Mormon land, like you had to be Maven or you were out, you know, and that's that. Yeah. I don't know. Any more thoughts on the Maven situation?
Oh, a bunch, but we don't need to go forever.
I wonder if we ever even need to really cover her that much anymore. Maybe we will if Marty ever posts that debate.
I predict that Maven will do another thing worthy of commenting.
She'll, well,
I guess that's true.
I've said it a bunch.
I don't know if she'll have the platform. No, I guess she's still on Mormon Stories.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We'll be able to cover it again when she does the same exact thing to John Dehlin.
Yeah, no, that's what I wonder. Because like she's probably wondering right now. She's probably asking John right now to have a platform so that she can talk about this. And he's probably trying to figure out a way to say no without getting Jen camped again.
Yeah, I mean,
John... This 123 M. Neal commenter said, yeah, Marty, get your shit together. And I'd like to agree with this commenter. Like, come the fuck on, Marty.
Sounds like an incel.
Yeah. Keep that guy away from Marty. Probably some engineer sits in his basement and.
I've got to build a house and move, and I got 4 kids to deal with.
John Lynn very much frequently, any single time somebody gets political, which he didn't do this for years, but anytime somebody gets political, of course, it's always one way. Except they have that one dude from the army who had some views on Biden that I couldn't believe I heard came out of on a Mormon Stories podcast. But any single time anybody says anything political, maybe for the past 6 months, John Lynn started saying, "This isn't a political podcast. We don't want to talk about politics, and we want to have space for people from both angles and all that sorts of stuff." So anytime does he say that? Is he both sidesing stuff? Should he be just completely thrown in the garbage? Because he's said that a lot lately.
Yeah, but Maven knows that he's not really both sidesing stuff.
What, he's just doing it for the donors?
Yeah, he knows that's just lip service.
But these guys just did it for the donors, according to her. Right?
I mean, they're not running a 501c3 though, are they?
I've never donated to a single podcast in my life.
I have.
I might just donate to Mormon discussions to spite Maven.
I guess I did the other week, but I don't know. I like this. Everyone's autistic now. Sees planes delayed, trains falling behind schedule, boats crashing to bridges. Me, I don't think so. Anyway, the Maven stuff. I mean, I guess that's it on the Maven stuff.
The Mavening.
We done did the Mavening, and Flip, it was only the whole entire 3 hours.
Oh my God.
Oh, Jared, did you want to put what you said to him? I guess you posted that in top things. I don't know if you need to say. You kind of said it anyway. But.
Oh yeah. I just said, Bill Real, I'm not sure whether to sympathize you or laugh in confusion at why you put up with this moralizing, grandstanding dork for so long.
This is it, and RFM can sympathize with this because we were firmly on the side of being able to see that Jen Camp was bonko from some of the first times we talked, and there's a little bit of us always kind of saying, "But John, like, how didn't you vet that? Like, how didn't you?"
Yeah. It was obvious.
Also, why in the fresh hell would RFM beg her to stay? I get it. She's your friend, whatever. But
because they're nice.
Yeah, she constantly popped in to derail the entire subject or chastise your guests. Not to mention that one time I'll never let her forget where she accused me of being worse than a rapist for my pro-life views. In all seriousness, good on you for telling her to cut it out with the political crap. But for the life of me, I can't wrap my head around why you two let her go on tirades so often. I guess you guys are being Halversoned a week after you Halversoned Halverson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that's it. Yeah. It's done. Oh, I mean, I guess there was a little thing where that Brittany person who was just on Mormon Stories today telling people to be careful of opening your relationships, which we said years ago and got sneered at for it. But now she can say it, and I guess it's valid if a woman is there.
It has to be like anybody. He says chastisement accepted. That has to be like anybody, like who the first time you tell somebody, like, what if we like what do you think about me opening my marriage and like my wife gets to bang anyone she wants and I get to bang anyone I want? Like, I feel like almost anyone is going to be like, I don't think that's going to work out, buddy. It's not like we're super intelligent for realizing that. It's just it feels like it because the whole fucking world started saying
it'll work if you have Natasha Helfer talk you through it. If you talk it through it, you can bang outside your marriage.
So I didn't watch that video. Did she actually say that?
Yeah, but I think she's just like throwing it in as a caveat, like trying to say like, oh, some people can get there, but don't just assume that you're there because you left Mormonism yesterday. So she said, like, I mean, it's right at the beginning of Mormon Stories. Yeah. But because they give it like a little highlight reel right at the top of it, and I don't know. She was
this comment was right after she banned me from commenting because I called the worse than a rapist thing into account again, and her response to that was, "Truth hurts, Jared."
Yeah, she just said it again.
It doesn't
quadruple down on it.
it doesn't hurt. It's just bewildering. Like it's like if I don't know. It's like if my 4-year-old kid called me a wimp. Like I could kick your ass.
It's just funny, like,
and it's not even bewildering when he does it because he's 4.
you know, I guess the lesson from this is that there are some people that you can give them off ramps. You can just give them off ramps and off ramps and off ramps, and they don't want them. Like Bill and RFM gave her an off ramp. We've given her off ramps, and she just slams down on that accelerator.
It's just the off ramp of can the other side be human at all? It's just that.
Yeah, that's all it is.
It's honestly the only off ramp we've ever asked of John DeLynn.
No, in her abortion discussion, I wasn't trying to talk her into pro-life. All I wanted to do was be like, hey, do you think maybe I have a real human reason for holding this stance? And that's what like I'm more trying to talk her into Bill Reel's position than mine, because Bill Reel is saying I am pro-choice. I think women should have that decision, but like I do understand that a lot of people view a fetus as a human. Mitchell Clark had a funny comment. Real open relationships haven't been tried yet.
See, I would just I would like to ask Maven, like, are women responsible for any of their choices? You know, like,
didn't you ask her that?
I think you did.
You did.
Yeah, but I didn't get an answer except that, you know, I'm worse than a rapist and all the other things.
Well, you were a misogynist for even asking the question.
But then we know men are responsible if the baby's had, right? There's no
men are definitely responsible for their sexual reproductive choices,
and that's how I think it should be.
But you know what's funny, like, because this is very much a leftist thing. Because like I had the exact same question of people, my communist friends, talking about homelessness. That's that same thing. It's like, is anyone responsible for their choices? Like literally that question: is anyone responsible for the choices they make? You know, and of course they can't answer that because it puts them in a conundrum.
So here's this, just a highlight.
If you are in a healthy learning process, you should be deconstructing and reconstructing all of the time. It is not a past tense event that we check off a list. I deconstructed Mormonism. Your deconstruction should keep.
One of the things you can deconstruct is
Robin DeAngelo.
Politics, political zeitgeist.
Going after Mormonism. It should keep going. There's a lot of people that I know that it's faith crisis yesterday and right into alcohol and open marriages tomorrow. Ex-Mormons tend to be adults with delayed adolescence. They have no sexual education,
the Sean McCraney stuff, right? Which Sean said he's going to come on the podcast.
We need to get him.
Sexual communication skills. They're getting drunk for the first time, making out in hot tubs, and blowing up their lives in ways that sometimes they look back and regret. No Mormon I've ever met has enough sexual education and consent education to be running a healthy open marriage the day that they lost their faith after reading the CES letter.
I mean, that's all great stuff. It's stuff we've been chirping at for
years.
But then it gives this caveat.
It kind of implies that there is
here you go.
That I support only monogamy, and I'm not a sex therapist, so I'm gonna refer to Natasha on all of that. But what I'm seeing is that there's a difference between people who are.
Natasha is giving the Job from not Job. What's his name from Arrested Development? It might work for us. The Tobias. Natasha Helper shouldn't be trusted either. I don't care what magical credentials she thinks she has. But yeah, that's her saying that I'd refer to
Natasha on all of that. But what I'm seeing is that there's a difference between people who really understand the literature on ethical non-monogamy, because the reality that I'm seeing is ex-Mormons tend to be adults with delayed adolescence. They have no sexual education, no sexual communication skills. They're getting drunk for the first time, making out in hot tubs, and blowing up their lives in ways that sometimes they look back and regret.
So it has a Natasha Helfer asterisk by it. And all I would add to that is remove the Natasha Helfer asterisk.
Yeah, Natasha Helfer would tell you that getting drunk and having illicit sex for the first time is a good thing.
Live your truth. Live your truth.
Yeah, you guys aren't going to think yourselves into making that work. even if somehow you did for 3 years or something. I remember that thing that John Gottman, that relationship therapist, they said that they wanted to study how long-term polyamorous relationships lasted, and they could not do it. These are empirical studies type people who want to be empirical studies. They are not ideological, the Gottmans. And they said they could not study long-term effects, just like we say that you cannot study the stuff about trans kids that John Oliver wanted to claim that you could study. You can't study it because it doesn't exist. There are no long-term studies on it. There are no 25-year happy polyamorous relationships to draw from to see how to make this work. And Natasha Helfer's not going to steer you there. But what she can do. Yeah, so there's that. But anyway, she had a TikTok this week, and her TikTok was saying that she had a conversation with Jared Halverson, and they're gonna talk it out, I guess, or something. But here you go.
Update on the Jared Halverson situation for those who are following that, just because I feel like it's the right thing to do.
Come on.
Update on the Jared Halverson situation for those who are following that, just because I feel like it's the right thing to do. So we spoke on Friday, and I feel like it was a very productive conversation. He spoke to what he was learning and where he sees now where he messed up. He had a copy of my book, and he had already gone through a couple chapters of it. I found him to be humble and genuine, and within the matrix of that reality, because we have to remember that he's a believing Mormon, but within the matrix of that reality being true for him, was he doing his best to actually listen and be humble and say sorry and learn and reach out and have conversations? I would say yes. Now, what happened was we were both kind of disappointed with our own camp. So I was disappointed that some of the ex-Mormon, especially feminist ex-Mormon camps, were kind of in the mind that because the apology didn't reach this bar, it's just not good enough, and he's just doing it for his own.
Where's that bar, folks?
Really
like
rejecting
the apology bar to feminists. Like, where's that bar? Like, maybe not kept mentioning the low bar. No what's the?
And
honestly,
to Britt Hartley's credit, though, she's not responding like most of the people I saw who called it a non-apology. I would say it wasn't a non-apology. It was pathetic groveling. Like it was embarrassing.
Honestly, who I think wanted to learn.
They wouldn't even accept the apology if he denounced the Mormon church right then and declared himself a new champion warrior for feminism. It's not good enough yet. Like, you have to go to 7 years of re-education camp, and that's not good enough either.
Was willing to learn more. And then Jared Halverson was disappointed with his own active member camp they just exploded with YouTube and TikTok saying that he had nothing to apologize for. There was nothing that he did wrong. These ex-Mormons just don't want to hear it. And he was really disappointed with how active members were treating his apology. And so we were both kind of sad that there was an opportunity for bridge building on both sides and that we could have had some of those conversations, but the camps kind of did what the camps do, and we both kind of were disappointed in that. So I invited him up here to Boise to do a Q&A similar to the one that I did with Patrick Mason, where hopefully both sides can feel more understood and can discuss things and learn from one another. We would have to do that without advertising that he's representing BYU in any way, of course. But overall, I feel like it was a productive conversation. And
what's she going to learn from him?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, that's one of this.
Fuck all.
Bridge building with feminists. Like, what are you talking about?
This is he's going to kindergarten and she's the school worm.
Yeah.
I genuinely like the guy. So in the conversation, the two things that I asked for him of the future that he may not be getting from kind of the comments that he's been reading, because I didn't want to add to what I'd already said and what people were already saying, but I did ask him in the future to be aware of when he is using Emma, because I challenged him to consider, are you using Emma in a way that Emma would have approved of, considering that she did leave the church later in her life. She didn't go west with the Saints, and she, really struggled.
He cannot remain with BYU and take up an angle on Emma that she wants him to take. That's untenable.
with many aspects of Mormonism. She's a complex person there. And so I really challenged him on his use of Emma. Can you please do it in a way that respects the complexity of who she was, rather than kind of use her to prop up the church, which I felt was disingenuous. And then the other thing that I asked him to do was to be really careful about how he uses the atonement. And of course, like in the course of an hour, there would be no way for me to dissuade him of his faith in the atonement. But what I wanted to bring to his attention was that people like me or people like Julie were often dealing with particularly women who have been told to just use the atonement for their trauma, and that will make everything okay. But from the data that we have, the atonement works as a ritual to process guilt and shame. It does not work for trauma. So it tends to help men and perpetrators more than it helps people who have been hurt by patriarchal religion. And so I just wanted to
understand that.
That's
Like,
nonsense.
it helps men for trauma. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what is that sentence? Like, come on. Like, you want to get on board. Like,
to be careful because he did in his apology use the atonement as part
and you're
of,
also asking them to not hold like the main part of their religion.
Yeah, why would he not use the atonement as part of
because they think the atonement like brings about like scrupulosity type stuff or whatever. So, well, you better get rid of that atonement. John DeLin's talked about that a whole lot, but like that's the religion and all that. So kind of a tough ask right there. Kind of a bit of a toughie.
As part of that process. And I'm wary of doing that because I get so many women that come to me as clients that say, I've been trying to access the atonement. Everybody says just use the atonement and forgive and move on, and it's not working. Am I broken in some way? And that can be a really damaging narrative. So I challenged him on those two things for the future. And then
the things he can't change, the things he can't change. He can't not talk about Emma positively for the LDS Church, and he can't toss away the atonement because it's harmful. Like, those are untenable asks.
We talked about ways that the church could improve, but because he's not in leadership, he's really not in those places. And he did ask me for lots of things that he could do as a teacher to make sure that he is highlighting women's voices better and not misspeaking and not hurting people's feelings and not causing more harm. And he did ask for a lot of notes on that I do think he's going to implement in the future, which is positive, which is what we want to see.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, Brit's, I don't know. She has some cringy takes, but she's always better than the rest of the rabble.
Yeah, well, I want to see like what his future female-based lesson is, where he walks all the lines she wants him to walk, and how much of a non-lesson it is. You know?
Why is he even going on this tour talking to ex-Mormons anyway?
Because he got canceled, man.
By ex-Mormons.
Yeah. Well, no, he got the Faith Matters people were the Mormons.
The Faith Matters people aren't Mormon. I'm way more Mormon. Like you listen to them talk, they're clearly if I could corner one of them in a room and be like, do you think Joseph Smith really talked to Moroni? They'd be like, oh no, for sure not.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know that we got nothing else. I said maybe we'd get more into the Douglas Murray, Dave Smith, all that stuff. But we've hit the 3 hours, and I don't know if we want to open that can of worms.
Morgan asked me, she's like, I want to watch the Maven part. When do you think you're going to talk about Maven? I was like, I think we're going to be talking about Maven the whole time. She's like, really? Do you think Chris will start with that? Or do you think that like, it's like if he really, really wants to talk about something else, he'll start with that, because he'll know that as soon as we start on Maven, it's going to take the whole 3 hours.
Yeah, if I wanted to dish it in, I knew the Maven thing would take forever. But usually when we just start gabbing and chatting and all that sorts of stuff, we go off on whatever sort of thing, some sort of band or whatever. I don't know, even that whole episode of, well, we got into John Oliver, but besides that, I mean, even getting into it last week was off the cuff because it just barely happened. But now there's been so much follow-up discussion on it and so much more talking and reviewing what the people said that, you know, it's a really weird topic, but maybe it'll probably still be hot enough next week or something.
Maven dropped that one Friday. Maybe she'll give us another gem full of content tomorrow.
Yeah, it keeps popping off that way, that like people just suddenly do. Maybe that's because the weekend's always like the day after. Thursday's a bad day or something like that. But people keep dropping whoppers like the day after we do something. But yeah, that one I was like, well, that also makes it easy because I was kind of getting sick of a bunch of other Mormon topics. Temple spires? Can we do temple spires?
Yeah, I know.
One of the problems with
we've had
content.
We've had Bobby Kusrix
Bobby. I'm gonna call you Bobby. I've seen in the chat before, and he's like he knows Maven personally, and him and Risto have been having a robust conversation in the chat about how to. He's being very charitable to Maven, which is, I guess what you got to do when you're her friend.
She had a homeless period?
Yeah, I think she's talked about that before.
Oh.
Yeah, where she's like,
I think it's because he mentions the thing about how like her sister-in-law died, but we've asked this question a lot of times because there's no indication that had anything to do with abortion whatsoever.
It's
was just a tragic thing that happens sometimes.
Yeah, no, actually, it's the opposite. Like it had nothing at all to do with abortion.
That's what I'm saying.
I've heard her tell that story enough times that I've heard her like admit that this is a Mormon woman who was pro-life, who was against abortion, but like she died very suddenly.
Yeah,
it's this sort of tragic. I think it was an ectopic pregnancy. She didn't know she had the ectopic pregnancy, and if she had asked any Mormon when she found out she had one, like, what should I do? They would say, unfortunately, I think you have to abort. Like, it's tragic, but you have to abort. And so, like, pro-life did not kill her sister-in-law.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, because she always brings it up. And
listen, like I said earlier, I'm more interested in the archetype of Maven because we are dealing with that archetype in that whole part of the world. But I genuinely believe kind of what Risto will repeat to us. That's why I promised Risto I'd try to be nicer or something in this episode. That yes, Maven herself has trauma or is traumatized in her life. But this is always kind of one of the things that it genuinely frustrates me with how people take therapy and talk therapy in the world, because they say people need to go to therapy because of some sort of trauma or some sort of thing or something like that. And I remember I told you guys once that I went to a therapist for a while. And one of the things I talk about is everybody knows I'm somewhat eating disordered. I think bodybuilding and that sort of stuff is a form of eating disorder, right? And so I talked to the therapist about, I have this eating problem. I have a problem with physical fitness and eating, and the thing is like, the idea is you're over the top about what you eat and what you don't eat and about your physical fitness and all that sorts of stuff. And that therapist, in the modern day current therapist person, says, well, you're in really good shape. That's, why do you worry about that? Like, the only thing, and you're like, that's the problem. Like, the issue is I'm traumatized for something that's not supposed to be traumatic or isn't as bad as I've made it out to be. And sure, I believe that she could be totally traumatized by her life, but it doesn't for sure mean that a real traumatic thing's there, just like it is in my life. It's a thing that I have gotten overly obsessive or OCD with, if that makes sense.
No, so I've only seen a therapist. I've only seen one therapist, and actually, I've seen two. I saw one, and he was awesome, but he was outside my insurance, so I couldn't keep doing that. And then the next one was in my insurance, and like Morgan was just asking me about it the other day. She's like, "Don't you think that the therapy helped you?" I was like, "Not really," because like the only reason I went through, because like we were having a tough go in our marriage. This was years ago, and she wanted me to go through therapy, and I would talk to the therapist, and I would tell her. She mostly just listened to what I had to say, which I think is the better version of modern therapy, but it's still pretty useless, because
that's what
I would tell her. I'd tell her, well, my wife, she did this and this and this, and it really pissed me off, and she'd be like, oh wow, she did. That must be really tough. And the more I did, the more I was like, look, lady, you don't have any amount of skepticism toward what I'm saying to you. Like, you're only getting my side of the story. You should be pushing back on me. And I feel like I'm trying to be really fair about the issues that I'm having with my wife right now, but you don't know that. And even if I'm trying, like, maybe I'm not doing it very well. Who knows? Like, push back a little bit.
Let's say one of those things, one of those lines that the evil Jordan Peterson frequently says is that, he thinks that like nervous systems of men are built to deal with the world, and nervous systems of women are likely, this evolutionary biology. We don't want to get into this. I mean, as ex-Mormons, it's too.
You going all Schopenhauer here on us?
It's too religious to talk about evolutionary biology, but he says likely their nervous systems are built to deal with self and baby. you know, and so they do have like extra sensitivities to the things happening around them and outside the world, all sorts of stuff. And maybe it should be directed in like a, you can't say it's a fallacy to give the naturalistic fallacy to say that it should be that way, to do something natural. But very, very likely, like if Maven had not catastrophized her life, like once again, maybe something traumatic really did happen with her father or something like that in her life, or maybe Mormonism she did take really traumatically. But I traumatized eating an M&M. You know what I mean? Like so sometimes you're traumatizing things that maybe that's what you need help with, that you're over traumatizing something that you need to contextualize a little bit better. But at the same time, what I'm hinting at there is that as much as she's done to her life of getting into this activism where she's got to go save the world while sterilizing herself, may have been ameliorated a little bit by kind of living a normalish life, you know, the things that you're not supposed to say. But you know, that's all uber bigotry of me. Oh, naturalistic fallacy. But I don't doubt that she's genuinely traumatized by whatever traumatized her. And I do believe that she is having a tough time and has had a tough time of it.
People hurt people.
Yeah. And I feel I genuinely like feel bad for like the situation that she's like, you know, put her life into, and like how intensely she takes all of that. But it is a form of religious scrupulosity. And like, I feel bad for that. She has religious scrupulosity.
It appears like an addiction. Like she is absolutely addicted to the emotional charge she gets from fighting this stuff. You know, like she wants to fight. I think, you know, and she like, I think she likes the part where she feels dehumanized and all that crap. Like
she probably likes the self-fulfilling prophecy of these guys turning out to be her dad.
Yeah.
You know, there's a part of her that enjoys that, psychoanalyzing and all that sorts of stuff, whatever.
For sure.
But I feel terrible that she's in that position. I feel terrible that so many people and movements in our society are viewing things that way. Like I say, we have like such a neo-Malthusian death cult on like a certain side of the aisle that thinks like any sort of birth and all that sort of stuff. If you genuinely look at it, so many things are geared towards saying stop having kids in this world. You wouldn't believe it. And it's because it comes from a general entire side of the world that has neo-Malthusian thoughts that we got to Thanos the world because they're freaked out of their minds, that we're ruining the environment and all that stuff. And that you can, the war radio people have a point that people turn these things into religious scrupulosities. And you stopping and noticing it, maybe as an ex-member, you can not just say, well, gosh, it just has to be that way. You can be part of the ex-Mormon world that says, no, it doesn't have to be that way. Like we can chill off of this extremity. You know.
Mitchell Clark's comment, because it's something we've said a lot about how people are out of the church what they were in the church. And I just had the thought, wouldn't it be fun if we could interview some of Maven's missionary companions?
Oh yeah, I'm sure she was like a hyper person. And I think all three of us, as we know that when we were in the church, we were chill members of the church in certain ways, you know, as far as like not thinking everybody's evil and everybody had to convert today, or they don't see it my way, they're out of here. Like we were fine with people not converting. You know, that was the three of us.
Divas is here.
Divas caught the tail end.
Yeah, all right. I gotta go Betty buys. I'm dropping off.
Did you have more you wanted to stick around for, Chris? I can hang out if you're wanting, but
nah, I'm good unless we wanted to get into I don't know if you want.
Chris and I will go. Let's have Divas pipe into the Skype, and you and Divas go there, Jared. Do that for another 2 hours. Just repeat everything we said about Maven and see what he says.
Yeah. No, the only stuff I get into would probably just be like a long conversation about the whole Joe Rogan, Dave Smith debate stuff. And that's all the wax.
Well, all righty.
Should we call it good? Thanks for hanging out, everybody, and everybody who checked in. I was kind of curious to see if this topic would bring in some different eyeballs. And
if each of you bring 2 people into the group, we can stream to Facebook.
If you get more of a group or not, all I generally want is just a little bit of, hey, wait a minute. Maybe we are politically going one single direction in the ex-Mormon community a little bit. just a little bit. Could we reel it in just a little bit? That's it.
And make sure to touch that like button and subscribe for us. It's not gonna hurt you. I'm gonna do that so many times, ironically, that it sounds like I'm doing it for real. So I gotta probably stop doing
Hard to
that.
tell, yeah.
Yeah, it's the meta.
I like all
irony.
I like the way people try to trick you into commenting. Like, I'm fine with Kyle Dunnigan doing it because I like his show, like Time for a Yo and stuff like that. But there's so many things where, like, I don't know, like Nate the lawyer, or I don't know, the guy, what's his name, Todd Grande. Like, all those guys were like, they just tell the story and they're like, but I want to know what you think. Like, no, you don't want to know. You're not going to read that shit. You just need people commenting. Like, no, come on. You're just trying to get people to comment. That's all.
Divas is checking out because we're too woke.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, man.
I am a Latinx Americano.
He is a Latinx Americano. That is true. Yeah. BIPOC.
And I'm a
BIPOC.
My sexuality is I'm an aspiring gay. I'm not gay, but I'd like to be.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually gay, as we.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Established, so. Well, cool.
All right.
We had RFM stuck in there for almost the entire stream.
As well. Yeah. Well, I hope somewhere out there and all that sort of stuff, I hope I know Jonathan said that and a lot of people say it's probably best for them to just not even talk about it or not even address it. A lot of times when you're getting canceled, that is the best route, even though I don't think she has the power to cancel them. That is the best route to take. But I hope that just like Bill did, there is some standing up for themselves a little bit.
Oh, and sorry, I was going to say to RFM, if you want, we don't even have to be on your show. We will write dick jokes for your show.
We're good at one thing.
Dick of Damocles is falling. It's the wire holding it above our head is cracking and is breaking, and that Dick of Damocles is coming down, and the show is ending. We're falling right back into patriarchy as that dick crashes down. Good night, everybody. Later.
All right, see ya.